Episode 172 brought to you by my 3 favorite people from Korea. Don't at me if you're in Korea and you're not one of these 3 people, but these are them, okay? I gotta be honest, it's Achilles, it's Bren, and it's William Cho, bruh.
Not in Korea.
Oh, are you not? You're in Austin?
I'm in America.
Wow, kick him out of the show.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're gonna have to replace you halfway through the show then.
Rick.
Or actually, no, you know what? Now I think about it more, we'll replace the other 2. We'll replace the other 2 with like, let me think. Sliggy's probably around, TMV's probably around. So let's get to it. How are you lot doing? How's life been over there in Pacific?
It's good. I wasn't expecting
part of the run of show.
I wasn't expecting an earnest question. No, things have been good. Just been chilling out, spending time with the wife. Been going to the gym more. Been teaching her further how to drive, and that's
you're teaching her how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds incredible.
Seth wasn't driving for the longest time in Korea, so
I mean, I've been driving. I've been driving in Korea now for about a year, then I mean a little bit before then because I had like a temporary license and everything. And now I got my permanent license last year. She got her license when she turned 18, and then never used it and doesn't remember anything.
Just like my wife, there's something about
it's the thing you do when you turn 18 is get the license and then never use it.
Seoul has such great public transport, though. I can see why that happens, right? It's not like you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just turn 18 and you're like, I'm going to get other people to drive me around all the time. You just there's such good public transport.
It's almost Josh. It's almost you know what?
Why are you drinking piss, Bren? Why are you drinking piss? Why are you? What are you both doing?
We're drinking each other's piss, but
Bren needs to go to the doctor then if that's the case. If you swapped.
What I was going to say, though, is that you would think that, yes, with all the great public transportation out here, you wouldn't need to buy a bloody car. But here we are. I do love it now that I have it. But initially, I was very against it. Anyway, that's how I've been doing.
Okay. I appreciate it.
I spent $200 on CSGO, CS2 cases and keys. And I didn't get a knife.
Is this because you were watching the major and you just got kind of sucked in?
Yeah, I watched the major, got sucked in. This morning I woke up at 6 a.m. and got curious, so I downloaded a program that goes through your Steam inventory history. Probably going to lose my access to my account now after this, but it goes through your entire history on Steam, and it goes through all the cases you've ever opened historically. I've opened 369 in my lifetime on that account. Which means I'm actually not unlucky because apparently you need 400 at that point. That's like not the tipping point, but statistically, because the odds are so horrific. By the way, gambling, never gamble. Don't gamble. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. If you want a knife, just buy it outright. It's literally not worth it. And I was like losing it going through the early history of all the cases that I'd opened because some of them are worth like they're $100 cases at this point because they were like the very earliest CSGO cases. But anyway, yeah, I'm like 40 away from that. Apparently, the statistical point of which you're supposed to get a knife, but not really because every time you open a case, it's independent. That's not how stats work. But that's not gonna fucking stop me. Sorry for swearing. I've already ruined it because I've sold. By the way, my TF2. The economy's going crazy right now for some reason. Inflation's sky high. Apparently applying to items. My TF2 inventory that was $100 is now $500 because of some cases.
You're going to get hacked. You're going to get your account stolen.
Yes, I'm going to get my account stolen. But so I've been selling a bunch of stuff, and now I'm going to go. After this, I'm going to gamble some more.
No,
and,
you just said how stupid that is.
No, the buy order is in for 40 cases, and so I'm going to gamble.
And if I don't hit it
if I don't hit it, then we've got problems because technically I'm not likely to get a knife at this point. But if it's my childhood dream. When I was a kid, you used to be able to gamble with no regulations at all. What happened to that?
Yeah, and guess what? You were exactly the target demographic. It was like gambling streams designed for kids to try to get kids hooked. That was what was so unethical about it.
When I was 14, I was making bank off CSGO Lounge. And I was gambling on so many matches when I was 14.
God, it's so bad.
This is the worst advertisement ever. The stream, let's clarify. The stream is not sponsored by CSGO Lounge.
No, it's not.
I think that website doesn't even exist anymore.
No, I don't.
I don't think it exists anymore.
A lot of the
dude,
old
I'm
ones got
telling you.
taken down.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
dear.
mean, but gambling's awful. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Unless we get a very ethical gambling sponsor at some point in the future, in which case, give us money. In that case, give us money. But only if you're ethical and you don't allow children to gamble like I did when I was 14.
So Brent's not getting a knife, and Alice won't be getting a ring because Brent has no money to buy one.
Yeah, yeah. All of the money disappeared, love. I don't know where it went. That's crazy. By the way, did you see all of these cool skins that I now have?
I was playing last night. Alice was sat on the floor like 2 nights ago because the desk and chair that I bought
sold the
hasn't
bed?
come in.
You sold the desk and the chair to buy cases?
The furniture's gone. The furniture's gone. Alice was playing Minecraft on the floor. I was like, Alice, we're gonna have to get rid of that laptop soon. And every time I was handing her the mouse, I was hovering over the open button with the key, and I was like, come on, Alice, it's this one. It's this one. I'd hand her the mouse, she'd press the button, and every time it was a blue skin. It was a blue skin every time, man. It's not worth it. Don't gamble. Don't gamble.
God.
The last thing I'll say on this is that you got really, I guess I got really lucky because I've probably opened a similar number of cases, and I think I've gotten about 6 knives in my time.
That's unbelievably lucky. That is unbelievably lucky because it's
You need to be
supposed to be like
investigated.
it's a 0.26% chance.
Oh,
Which
that sounds
means
great.
It means like it's 1 in 400, but obviously that's not how stats work. You could get really unlucky and just open 8,000 cases and never get a knife. It's just that's the way gambling works. The house always wins. Gabe Newell. I'm not going to make threats against you on the internet. I'm not going to make threats.
This is,
On the
by the way, this is Bren's partner figuring
is,
out
yeah.
that we did a Chica dance.
An anime girl
Chica
dance.
Yeah,
The Chica
many
dance
years ago.
compilation.
She was revolted. Anyway,
yeah.
we should probably talk Valorant at some point, shouldn't we? We should
Yeah.
probably. Oh, Bren's faded out of existence.
Well, he's been censored out now, finally.
The repo people have come for him.
Oh, they're taking the camera next.
Did any of you see, were there any Valorant orgs doing those stupid April Fool's jokes yesterday? Because to be honest with you, some of the roster moves I thought were April Fool's jokes, and then it's turned out
they
that they're
weren't.
real.
And then they weren't.
Yeah, they just weren't. Has anyone seen any dumb ones? Because I don't really use the internet. I'll be honest with you. It's not a good place.
I went off the internet yesterday. I hate April Fools. It's a fucking dog shit holiday. I hate it. People make up lies on the internet.
I thought that I did a pretty good one the
What
other
was
day.
yours?
I tweeted because I had a long broadcast for Overwatch, and then I went and I was meeting a friend at a bar, and I just sat down and I had I was like, man, I'm tired after that. And I was like, what if I tweeted that I feel like I don't have the energy to cast Overwatch anymore, and I think I'm gonna move on after the mid-season. It's just, I wasn't even trying to dig up like compliments or anything like that. I just wanted to see if people would freak the fuck out, and they did.
My man, it's March 31st in most of your follower base. Look at all the
I know,
comments from
which is
people on March 31st.
no. The thing is, I sent that like 20 minutes after it turned April 1st in Korea, and the best was I think Jaws' reaction because he sent this great heartfelt message talking about it, and then he just realized like 5 minutes later, and he's like, "The son of a bitch."
Time zones, man.
I mean, not just that too. That's such like a punch down, dude. Overwatch has just been having brain drain forever, and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it too. I'm bouncing, bitches. Just as a cruel, sick joke for them. Oh, okay. Were there any other notable ones, or should we get into the real news?
Bleed rickrolled people. That was about
Real
it.
news. Get the real news. I don't care about April Fools. Dumb holiday.
There
There
Dumb
was
engagement
one good one
farming.
on Reddit. Someone made a
Oh, yeah?
tier
What
list
was
of
that?
all of the teams, and it's just
Oh,
color
yeah, that was
coordinating them.
pretty good.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it was what? What was the joke part?
They were just color coordinating them.
oh,
Yeah,
I
but it was the
see.
definitive
funny.
list for all teams.
And then people,
You know what
like,
else this
the
highlights?
Reddit was pretty
There's
good,
just-
I would say. There was like
There's way
highlights
too
of
many just black logos. Way too many.
yeah.
Pull up the tier list again.
Look at them.
Now he's
They're going off
interested.
the screen.
Oh yeah, there's crazy amounts.
Yeah. This was
it's
part of the problem with
crazy.
all of the like classic skins as well. So many of them just looked really similar because
That's what I mean. There's no green skins, man. There's no green skins.
Honestly,
just
when you
loud.
said that on the cast, that's when I started really liking the loud bundle because I was like, "You're
what I'm
right.
saying.
There's no other green classic."
Yeah,
what
by
I'm
the way,
saying.
for anyone who missed that moment, we were talking about the loud skin for some reason, and Bren's like, if you're a fan of green, and I think I said something like, yeah, if you like trees or something, and he's
Yes.
like, yeah, or other green stuff that we can't mention on broadcast. Like, yeah, just
Other illicit
dropping the
substances
fucking
that we won't reference on broadcast.
dropping the 420 reference in the middle of the, what was it, some kind of playoff game or something.
Was
I don't know.
that a glow at Madrid?
It was in Madrid, yeah.
Brent, right
dude.
now is dude, your camera. It looks like that Spanish woman that tried to repaint that picture of Jesus and then just completely fucked it up. That's the vibe I'm getting as your face just blurs out.
It's good.
How
And
do I
you-
get it to blur?
You've destroyed
I don't
Chobra as
know.
well. Chobra's
Oh,
I think
goodbye,
you have to
Chobra.
stand still. I know now we've lost Chobra.
one of the most
This is the most
unhinged
unhinged.
beginnings to a podcast of all time. It really is.
This
That's
is
what you
Brent's
look like,
camera.
Brent. All right. While we're waiting for Chobra to get back, though, I do want to hear both of your opinions on this. Was the one piece of news that when I got back from Madrid, I took a little bit of a break, and I was like, I tuned in one day to look at this, and I saw that Jinggg had returned to PaperX. I'm skipping over our. We'll return back to one of these other pieces in a second, but this was the one that really caught me off guard because I was like, this has got to be some kind of April Fool's thing. Like Jinggg is back after Monyet's improvements throughout the tournament took them to third place. They just bench Monyet and get Jinggg back in. Like, what is going on over there?
Have they said that they're benching Monyet?
Yes,
they
he's
haven't-
been removed.
yes,
to
no, he's-
moved to reserve roster.
Yeah, he's on the reserve. roster.
Yeah. You know,
Dude,
you're
I
right.
thought they were gonna
Yeah,
run
he's not just like a 6-man that they can pull from at any given time. Like he's on the reserve roster. It is fully intended that they are going back to last year's 5-man.
Wow.
That is.
How
Yeah.
bonkers is that?
Well, that's why I took issue with this because I mean, I summarized it all in a tweet. But while I'm very happy, and I think that this is awesome to see. I'm happy that Jinggg doesn't, have to go to the military. I'm glad that he can continue his career and everything like that. He doesn't have to put it on pause and then try to, pull his boots back up, and get back into it 2 years later. I'm happy for him in that regard. I'm happy for the team because obviously the team synergy and everything is going to still be there for them. But this fucking sucks for Monyet. Like this really blows. And can I fault PRX for suddenly learning like, hey, we could actually have Jinggg. He doesn't have to go away. And then electing to go with Jinggg. I can't really fault them for it, but it also just, this player who already had a breakout year when he was on Global, looked incredible, playing in an off role, set a land kill record for a period of time, comes into a team in a position that it's almost impossible to fill, and then finally starts looking like he's filling it, and then he's just fucking removed. It sucks.
By the
I
way,
mean-
the word finally there, just to jump in for a short moment, the word finally that you're using is also like he only started scrimming with the team at the beginning of the year. Like they were playing off-season tournaments without him being in that starting duelist position.
Sure,
So he
and-
actually
and-
hasn't had very long even to do
Well,
that.
I'm taking my frustrations with the off-season stuff into account there, where like they could have just been running him the whole time. They could have had more experience with him. They delayed that by giving Jinggg his last hurrah, which is now just a happy little off-season tournament.
The thing is I mean, obviously, I don't know if we'll ever find this part out, but the only reason I'd be moderately okay with this is if this was all part of the discussion when Monyet was signed, right? Of like, there is this possibility.
Sure.
And in that case, are you agreeing like instantly that you would go into the reserve roster? Because I mean, at that point, it's your choice. Do I think it's a good choice? Maybe not. But I
Also,
think
how
that's
could
the only
Monyet make
way.
an informed decision about that unless he knows Jingg's
Mon-
medical history?
Monyet was
Yeah.
Googling like Singaporean military exemption percentages, and he's just like, oh, there's no fucking way this guy's coming back. I'm certain all year.
When Jinggg like announced that he had to do military service, I did start researching all the other instances that politicians had got their children out of the military, and thought, how could we potentially do that for Jinggg? And the only time they were caught was when they had a rival politician trying to dig up blackmail material on the opposing another politician, and then just like basically just like ratted out the fact that their children didn't do military training or service, and that's how they got found out. But I was looking into that. I mean, it's not really relevant to this point. I mean, honestly, dodging a draft, quite based, I will say. I think that's an incredibly based maneuver. I'm not sure if that is the case that Jingg's going for, whatever the long-term medical problem it is. But I'm glad that he is actually going to be able to play again. But yeah, I can't imagine they said to Monyet like, oh, well, you know, if Jinggg does come back, you know, you'll be gone. I thought they were going to run a rotating system, to be honest. But I know that doesn't really make much sense. But honestly, having Monyet in for like some double smoke comps as well could have been the wave. I think that could have kind of fucked. And Jinggg hasn't even been scrimming with them. Like, that's the crazy thing. They're heading into split 1. It's going to be another slow start for PaperX, most likely. But yeah, I think long term, though, this change should be positive. I know it sucks for Monyet. Don't get me wrong. I've only just learned to pronounce his name as well. So that's hard. I'm going to have to fucking run that one back again. But it sucks for Monyet. But Jinggg is and was at the point when he was gone. The reason I was so sad about the Jinggg change was that he's the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world, especially at race. I mean, the only players that really hold a candle to him are like players like Zekken, and
Dogamo.
I mean, who else?
Jogamo,
like,
and to be honest,
Jogamo, just a different style.
Like,
mate, what Monyet was doing, what
Bunny.
Monyet was doing towards the end of Madrid was as good as what we were seeing from Jinggg.
yeah, it was Jinggg-esque.
That's the crazy part about it, is that for all of the shit that Monyet was getting, he played outrageously well on like the split game, the bind game towards the end too. He had maps where he just took over and went insanely big.
Yeah.
So it sucks for Monyet in that sense, but also I don't think this will be an upgrade for them. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion in the community generally, but I don't think that. Yeah, Chobra's. I think his internet's doing a bit dodgy, so I think he's deliberately.
Yeah,
doing
I
this
told him to leave
fix
the
it.
podcast. He's not allowed to come here anymore. No, I told him to try restarting his computer, so he just did it immediately without saying anything. So he'll be back in a second.
What do you think, though? I do not think that this is going to be an upgrade for the team. I think that they should be able to get immediately back to where they were, but I don't think this is the kind of change that's going to put them back to like, you know, number 1 in the world. I think they're just going to be like, instead of being a surprise number 3, they're going to be a consistent number 3 at a tournament instead of
this
winning.
This is kind of what we were always talking about. But this is a lot of what we were talking about here online, just generally when it came down to the signing of Monyet. And it was just like, okay, like, is this an immediate upgrade to the roster? No, but does it unlock a lot more potential for the roster? Yeah, absolutely, because Monyet is incredibly flexible. I mean, he spent his entire year, you know, he started off as a duelist player and then basically never got to play duelist at all on global, but proved that he was an absolute incredible controller player. So like having him added to the mix, it unlocks you to do, you know, the triple duelist comps and stuff like that they were running, as well as just some stronger controller meta stuff that they were doing, as well as, you know, the duelistless composition that they have on Sunset. So I think that it gives them a lot bigger of a range to work and build off of compared to having Jinggg come in. So I'd be really curious if, with Jinggg coming back in, if the thing that I want to see is that the direction of the team continues to kind of like diverge and grow and evolve, rather than just go like, well, we got second place last year, let's just do the same shit and just Jinggg plays 100%, you know, raise the entire time, and we never try to have him like move on to anything else. Like, I'd be curious to see if they're, you know, going to try to work new agent in some way, but yeah, I don't want to see them just kind of going back to what was working, even though it worked fairly well, because ultimately, like, you're going to be that much more readable. You're going to be hitting a ceiling that much sooner. So I'm hoping that there's going to still be some evolution here for the team.
They've never shown signs of stagnating. I mean, there was obviously Alex was really sad in the arrival interviews at Madrid, being like, "Well, I guess W Gaming's over, guys. Put it away, pack it up." And he was like, you know, farming sympathy. But this team has always been good. I think it. I'm pretty high up on the change. I think the worst aspect of it is that Monyet got fucked over. But outside of that, I think that the ceiling of this team has always been incredibly good. Jinggg hasn't just been a raise one trick for most of his life. He has played other stuff for this team.
Yeah, he plays weird stuff though, doesn't he?
Yeah, like the Rays on behaving.
But that's the bread and butter, man. That's PaperX, baby. They don't get you. They're gonna cook something up, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, smells a bit burnt. Am I having a stroke? Not quite. Oh, they just fucked us on Ascent with a rain econ." Like that is PaperX, baby. They're gonna pull that shit out, and they're gonna keep innovating. They're gonna keep throwing shit at the wall. Some of it's gonna stick because they're phenomenal aimers. Some of it's gonna stick because it's a good idea inherently, and it's gonna get refined and optimized over the course of a year. I think they're kind of fortunate, to be honest. The fact that they've got 2 splits to really get a lot of prac in. It's not like the case where we had last year. You had the kickoff tournament. You had one stage of which to decide everything, and then you go to that Masters event, and if you do well, and then there's a last chance qualifier. No, you actually have quite a large selection of games to really improve and innovate over time. They're making this change at the right time. If they were doing this at like stage 2, I'd be like, okay, maybe it's curtains. But I think long-term success, this looks good for PaperX. I'm a fan. I've always been a fan of this team. I'm a fan still to this day. They are the I forgot my own copy pasta. The
armchair analyst's worst nightmare.
Yeah,
or something.
armchair analyst's worst nightmare. Yeah, that one.
I think my take is that there isn't really a roster change that is going to make PaperX the best team in the world. I think I think this goes like somewhat sideways in terms of a roster change, but actually in order to win tournaments, in order to be the best team in the world, some of it's going to be the small picture ideas, some of it's going to be the team coordination stuff, and some of it is just going to be, are you in a tournament where everyone's on form and hitting everything? Because you do need that element of luck to also, if you're a team that's always making it deep every time, you're rolling the dice enough to the point where you get one incredible tournament run where you're able to get over the line in a really close finals or something and win the entire thing. So that's why I'm not looking at this change as like, okay, PaperX are now going to be the best team in the world. I saw some people using the logic of they got 3rd with Monyet, they would get 1st with Jinggg. And I don't think that necessarily tracks. I think they'd be in a very similar position where they'd be really, really good getting to the end of the tournaments. But whether or not they can get over the line is kind of a different issue that we've already seen Jinggg can't necessarily solve because he's been in those spots before. Chobra, how's the lag? What's your take?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I wonder if it's fixed because I think it's looking better, but
you sound great. You look great. We're good.
Okay, great.
It's a little desync, but that's fine.
Okay, whatever. The people will have to deal with it because since I missed the majority of this discussion, I think the only thing about Jinggg is also I think their biggest problem with their overall performance was just they weren't really they haven't figured out the meta for themselves. So I think that's obviously not going to change with Jinggg coming back and playing Raze, etc. And then on top of that, you just said that you don't think there's a roster change that could possibly convince you that they've now evolved into a world #1 team. And I wonder if you would say the same thing if there was additional staff, because I think that's something that could help them. Because I think, like you said, it's the same thing. Even when Jinggg was there, they still couldn't cross the finish line. I mean, we saw that with Gen.G as well. So a lot of people, including myself, are having discussions on why does this happen to Pacific teams? It happened to DRX, it happened to Zeta Division, it happened to PaperX, it happened to Gen.G. I think that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I agree. I don't think this suddenly just puts them at #1 automatically at Pacific or anything like that. I think they're just still a solid top 2 team.
It was quite sad, actually. With your point to adding more staff, it was sad to see Alex being in such a bad mental state at the beginning of the tournament, where he felt like his team was just kind of skilling it through the early period. When you looked at Alex's interviews, he was like, there are so many things that are going wrong with this team. I have 10 different ways that I could approach the problem, and I don't know which one is the correct way to try to approach the problem. And eventually it seemed like they got somewhere with it. We don't exactly know how he approached it from behind the scenes, but when you're only one person and you can sometimes get lost with all of the different things that you could try to improve a team. So it does seem like he could do with having a little bit of assistance. I'm not saying they need to change the coaching staff, but just, a little bit of help seems like it would be good to just bounce ideas off, basically. So from moving on from PaperX, let's talk about Achilleos' favorite team, or used to be his favorite team. We'll see whether it still is in this next topic. Seth, you will always ride or die for DRX. Every single time we turned up to a global event, you were there, DRX jersey on, the belief was flowing. I feel like that's cooled a little bit, but they've just made a new signing. BeYN, signed from Maru Gaming. He's finished killing Batman and he's back and he's ready to play.
I just watched that movie.
Did you?
I just watched it. Yeah, I just watched it.
Feel
Dude,
like
that
you're in
movie has some
control.
ass dialogue in it. It's like just the opening scene has the most ass dialogue ever. The one where he's like, "What happens if I take off that mask? It would be extremely painful." He's like, "You're
That
a
was
big
not
guy
a bad impression.
for
Yeah,
you."
that was pretty good.
And he's like, "What was this a part of your master? What's next in your master plan?" He said, "Crashing this plane with no survivors." And fucking that movie, it wasn't as good as the second one. Wasn't as good as the second one. We're getting off topic though, but you started it.
I did. I started. I apologize for that.
So-
Seth, I want to get things back on topic. First of all, Seth Chobra, who the hell is this guy? Is he a good pickup?
I mean, BeYN is the OG trainee, right? Like he was there since the Vision Strikers days. Like he is the original guy that DRX was like, hey, we're all about, growing like homegrown talent in Korea. We're bringing up the rookies from the scene, and he was tagging along with them on everything. Like he's been at all the different venues that DRX has been at in Korea, like watching the matches from behind the scenes. And then he got like loaned out to a bunch of just various challengers teams, aka a bunch of like 5K and friends basically that were like, hey, we want a fifth. DRX, can we borrow that guy that you guys just aren't ever going to use? And then he went over and he played in a lot of those teams, and then he even went and played in China last year, and now he's like back. And then they made this video of like, yeah, it took 3 years and we're finally calling up to the main roster. And I'm thinking like, I mean, when they first picked up Foxy 9, while there was a lot of hype for Foxy 9, my first question was always like, why didn't you do this with BeYN? Like, it seemed like that was always the intent, was that you were gonna make him your next like starting roster. And then they went and experimented with all these things that nobody liked. And then now they're bringing him back in. And obviously everyone's question that I'm sure we'll discuss in a little bit is also like, for which spot is the other question? Because surely you're not making this big old deal to just put him back on the bench again, just like 3 years ago where he was doing nothing on DRX. So I can't imagine that that's the case.
I will criticize the 3 years in the making, or 3 seasons in the making, because this has not been a constant development cycle that has solely been handled by DRX. They have not been priming this guy and basically constructing him like he's fucking RoboCop to get him ready for this moment to come out on stage. Like, he has been out and playing with different people, playing under different coaches and everything like that. And overall, like, he is a very talented player, like,
yes,
DRX would not glance at this guy
duelist
if he wasn't good. That is where the conundrum comes in, because he's a very, very talented duelist.
Yes, and obviously, I mean, if there is ever a team that changes good duelists into other players, sure, DRX is up there. But and he did play Sova for a little while on Challengers Korea teams when he went over. So and he looked okay. Like, he didn't look super well versed, but I remember watching it because I remember looking at him and being like, really, you're that desperate to play in any tournaments that you would give up a duelist spot when you're kind of the next supposedly rising duelist? So not many. I mean, overall, he hasn't played that many matches, but so he's flexed around a little bit when needed. It wasn't all great performances, but the question is if you're signing him on now, can you train him whichever position you're slotting him in for? Can he even get there? Because clearly Foxy 9 wasn't quite at the level that you would want him to be.
Hot take, good. This is a good change.
Okay, why?
Hot take, this is a good change, and I think DRX were just a small few changes away from being a top team again in the region.
Okay, but why is it a good change?
Because I think the biggest thing that they struggled with is what Choba just said, which was, I think, Foxy 9's comfortability. It wasn't the sole reason they lost, like, versus Gen.G in the qualifier match for kickoff. But it was pretty clear that he wasn't comfortable on Viper as much comparative. Like, they've done the classic thing, which is you get a cracked aimer, you put them on the Sentinel role. Like, they've got Flashback doing that. Gen.G did the exact same thing with Meteor. They let them loose. Fnatic, they discovered that one a while ago. They wrote a playbook on it. Like, Alpha, get him on Sentinel, let him just take over. It doesn't matter if he's not natural to the role, and you just find value from them being placed into that position. And I think that if they want to get rid of Foxy 9 and they want to put BeYN in that position and trading him up to be that player, or potentially even moving Flashback onto the Viper now as well, if they want to play the double smoke comps, and maybe having BeYN just playing that Sentinel position as well, which is a lot easier to train somebody up onto, then I think this team is still going to be cooking a little bit next year. I mean, they were essentially 1 round away from winning BeYN versus Gen.G. I'll never forget this. And he lost it because Caron, this guy, he just looks like he's cheating half the time. Nuts. Like he was full blinded up. He had goop all over his face. Dizzy had just exploded all over the place, and yet he still movement diff 2 players and 1v2'd them in a scenario that he shouldn't have won. And then they ended up losing BeYN. They ended up losing the series 2-0 in the most important series of the early portion of this year so far.
I mean, listen, RQ was always 1 round away from beating Gen.G, so I don't know how much we can count that.
Okay, but I mean, RQ, I think a reasonable team. I kind of agree with you on that. I think that they shouldn't really be underrated too much. But I just think that Valorant is a game where these tiniest of differences can affect these match results, and it completely changes like our perspectives on whether or not the team is actually good or not. But watching DRX, they weren't fantastic, but I was like, dude, they make a couple of minor additions, like the ones that I just said, which is like maybe they move Flashback onto the Viper role, which I think he was playing in the offseason every now and then.
He was, yeah.
And he looks good at it. And if they want to play the double controller comps, they do that, and they move BeYN over to the Sentinel role. Like I said, it's easier to build somebody up into that position.
And you mean bench Foxy9 there?
Yeah, and then you bench Foxy9, I think, as well, which, unfortunate for Foxy9 as well, because I think he was trying pretty hard, but it's a rough world we live in. It's a rough world we live in.
Just to go over what Foxy9's agent pool looked like, by the way, he was playing Viper on most maps, but when they didn't have Viper in the comps, like on Breeze, well, no, I mean, Breeze, they play solo, solo Viper though, right? But on the maps where they're not trying to play double smokes, let's say, with a Viper, Foxy9 was playing Jet on Breeze, he was playing KO on Ascent, and then he was playing Viper on the other maps. So that's an extremely weird agent pool. I can't think of any other player that plays Jet, KO, Viper for teams. It's just bizarre. He doesn't play Jet for them.
He doesn't play Jet, but
yeah,
he doesn't play Viper. He only plays KO, and he normally plays Omen.
He only plays KO and Omen.
Yeah, I mean, even RB was mostly just Initiator and Sentinel, right? By the time that he was flexing around, obviously he flexed around a lot, but
I mean, yeah, the closest ones are just any of the Hyperflex players out there that you think of, like Forsaken.
But those players would be filling in all of the gaps. When in fact on DRX they like have to swap over like quite a few roles in order to facilitate these moves.
Yes,
it doesn't like they look like a team that has role issues on the squad.
I mean,
does this fix it?
I actually agree. I agree a little bit with Bren. I had a different idea because in my head, the most logical thing that was popping up in my head was Stax also didn't look as comfy on the Sova, right? Obviously, the Fade, he's played a lot specifically on Ascent back when they were playing Triple Initiator. So that's there. But Stax is a flash initiator through and through to the point that, like, in the old days, he was playing Phoenix when they wanted the Phoenix. So, like, this guy wants to work with the flashes in the game. So the other thing I was thinking of is this bit, if BeYN felt comfortable during the time that he was playing the Sova, if then you're putting him on that on the info initiator, and then he flexes around wherever they need, and then it stacks back to the flash initiator so he can get more comfy again. And then the actual final conclusion I landed on, which I think you guys are going to love, is what if they play musical chairs, and whenever they want double initiator, it's BeYN on the initiator, and then whenever they want double control with Viper, Foxy9 comes back in, and Flashback stays as the Sentinel.
But is it gonna fall over? Yep, he committed.
Mission accomplished.
Full commitment to the bit.
I'm lost. What's going on?
Humpty Dumpty sat on a chair.
I'm lost. Where's he gone?
He has broken into pieces.
Is he good?
The egg has shattered.
What have you done to the chair? Wait, he's still got a headset on. Oh, he's riding the bike! He's riding the bike off! Look at him go!
Ooh, will he play the guitar next?
Dude, get the guitar down! Get the guitar down! Another one! Do another trick! Another trick!
Okay, they're not gonna have a rotating roster though, are they?
Well,
no.
I mean... No, I mean they had a roster where they weren't using their sixth man, so why not try the one where you do use the sixth?
If they do this, I'm out. Like,
what are you?
I'm gonna Mark Cuban Shark Tank this shit. I'm fucking out. I'm not investing to send more. I don't see it working. I don't think that it would be.
Roster. I mean, if they do that. Coach Stonk's even lower. I mean, goodness me. Can they get much lower?
Don't get much lower. Can we get much lower? It's fucking crazy. The VLR article was titled DRX sign BeYN, release coach before stage 1. It's one of the most commented articles on VLR. You just have a scroll through. Everyone's like, oh, I thought the coach was Termy. Oh, I thought they dropped Termy. Oh, I thought they dropped... Like, I'm not preying on this guy's downfall in the sense that I don't want him to ever have a job again. But I do think that the coaching staff has mismanaged this team. And they... I mean, the fans, they know what they want.
For what it's worth with the Nox, like, well, A, he used to be a pro player, and then B, he, I think, was mostly involved in the Game Changers team. He did do remote, like, consultation coaching for DRX when they would go to, like, internationals and stuff, but he was never one of the coaches that actually, like, even traveled with them. So this isn't even, like, a core member. Obviously, I can't really speak to or quantify what his contributions have been. But this isn't like as big of a deal as some people might think it is.
It just seems like this squad's a bit lost. Like they've felt lost for a while. They've felt lost since the beginning of last year, to be honest. And it sounds like you two don't really have too much faith that this is going to get them back on track.
Look, I what I need to see is like what iteration of the team is going to be played with BeYN in the roster. Is it Foxy? Is it something else? Is it, are they going to be running double duelists with BeYN in? Are they going to be forcing him onto some other roles that he's not necessarily used to playing? Is it going to be a 6-man fuck off fiesta of just rotating people around? Like, I have no clue what they're intending to do, but somewhere deep in my heart, I still feel this feeling that the DRX are going to be able to get it done, that they're going to be able to win. And I think that one of the biggest strengths that I think they have coming into this, and one of the reasons why I think that they're going to be able to win stage.
Hello? Well, something's going on in Seoul today. We are just dropping like flies.
No, there's no way. That was scripted, man. That was scripted. He's just talking about how they need to change one thing to win, and he gets taken out. Man, T1 have got his internet connection or something. Gen.G are out there, like, unplugging his Ethernet cables.
That was such a good bet. Oh, my God. Well done, Seth. Well done.
I was very proud.
Okay. All right. Let's... can we bring up the groups? So there's an Alpha and an Omega group in each of these regions, and the Pacific region has 2 groups. Kurt asked us to make a prediction on who's winning each of the groups. If you haven't seen the format, it's confusing.
Yeah, it's
and I can't really tell you why, but stage 1, you play against everybody in the other group. Don't ask. Literally, don't ask. No answers.
It's just a cross-group round robin.
Yeah, so it isn't really like who's the best in the group so much as who's going to beat the other teams in the other group the hardest.
I mean, in some ways, it's kind of a more fair. I was thinking, right? It's a more fair comparison, right? Because you're all playing against exactly the same opponents, and then it's just whoever has the better win records, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so our bold predictions for Pacific Stage 1 group winners. Bearing in mind Achilles has just said he knows the secret for DRX to win Stage 1. So surely he's gone for DRX. Let's have a look at our bold predictions. The Stage 1 group winners. Ooh, okay. Myself and Achilles have gone with I think the most basic, boring answer of Gen.G Paper X. At the far end, Chobra's got Gen.G RRQ because he always believes. And then Bren has got Gen.G DRX. Bren, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's crazier than mine, in my opinion.
Dude, no, dude, I already said I thought this change. I already know what changes they need to make, and I know where the DRX office is. That's all I'm saying.
So you think DRX is going to finish ahead of Paper X in that group?
Yes.
Against teams like Gen.G, T1, and Secret, who all look pretty good.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yep. I think that's going to be the case. I think that the BeYN change is going to work out. I think they needed a tiny thing to shift the needle on it. I think they're going to do the change that I said, because they're going to listen to me this time. They're going to listen to me. I swear to God, they're going to listen to me. And then they're gonna get a better scoreline than PaperX. I think PaperX are gonna be a slow starters in the split. That's the major competition I think you've got in that group is PaperX. I think they're gonna be slow starters as per usual. Haven't got much scrim time.
Slow starters because Jinggg hasn't been playing with them, even though he played with them for like 2 years before that.
Yeah.
BeYN hasn't been playing with them though.
True, actually. The funny part is I entirely agree with Bren's argument that PaperX is going to be a slow starter. It's just that we just chose completely different teams to overtake them in the weakness that they're potentially going to show in the beginning of the season.
I don't know. I lean, and this hurts me, but I lean more into the RRQ pick than I do for DRX. I think that DRX is the team that's going to need a lot more time. I think that they are the ones that are going to need some more work. I think PaperX, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like they're just going to come swinging right out the gate, and it's just going to be like the unfortunate thing is that like Monyet haters will probably they'll feel justified, because I feel like PaperX is going to come out and they're just going to just dominate off the rip, and everyone's going to be like,
some of these
should have never. They absolutely should have never even bothered. And it's just like, no, go fuck yourselves. But also, hey, PaperX looks good. Like that's basically how I think this is going to end up going.
But here's the thing.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Because while I can see that happening, right? Like they might even just continue to play the same comps that they have, and they would still be able to crush a lot of Pacific. But what changed my mind a lot is the fact that, again, they're playing cross group, and on the other side, basically their opponents are going to be Gen.G through Bleed. So listen, no offense to these teams, but we're just going to go ahead and say that PaperX, no matter what form, they're going to beat GE and Bleed. So then it's Gen.G, T1, and Team Secret. Gen.G, I think, even with Jinggg, will stand up to them. I think Team Secret, if they oftentimes punch above their weight, they play to their opponents, they're also happy to get involved in the mess. So it's not going to be an easy match, in my opinion. And T1 also showed potential to take down, Jingg's version of PaperX during the offseason. So in that sense, if they were playing within Omega teams, I would actually think that PaperX has a great chance, just given the styles of the teams. But on Alpha, I don't know if Jinggg coming back, simply the firepower is good enough to overtake all of these compared to some of the other teams.
I think that Jinggg gives you a lot more firepower in regards to going up against the likes of Gen.G. And then, which again, nothing, I mean, I say that not even like really even taking into consideration like end of Madrid Mon yet, because he was getting to that point where it's like, okay, this guy could contend with, Texture and Meteor on the regular. But T1, like, I just give them the edge over T1. I feel like it just feels like Forsaken just, I don't know. He got the lion's share of the good genetics. The brother, he can't lose. He's just winning. He's like the older brother in what's that fucking movie I can't think of right now? Gattaca. He's the one who's just like superior. Like,
Seth, your movie knowledge always surprises me. You've got the weirdest deep cut references. Is that a well-known movie?
Gattaca?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great movie. You should watch it.
Sort of, but not really. I think it's like a bit of a
head.
fringe. It's a fringe cased film, I think.
Okay. Well,
But
if you haven't seen it in the chat,
I
go
feel
watch
like Forsaken will win the Susanto showdown.
All right.
Again.
Can you sell me on the RRQ cope? Because I feel like, okay, the RRQ cope has got to be based on how close they played in kickoff, and just generally the fact that they looked all right last year. Yeah.
So here's the funny part is I must have pulled off the greatest heist in history, because I convinced everyone that RQ was gonna be really good at kickoff, and then they got close to beating Gen.G twice, and now everyone believes that RQ should by far be a top 3 team or top 2 team in Pacific. And quite frankly, I look at those results and I'm like, this diminishes a lot of the hopium I had for this team, because the way that Gen.G was playing at the beginning of kickoff was nowhere close to even just the end of kickoff, let alone Masters Madrid, right? So in those 2 matches, Gen.G and RQ were basically just they were just swinging at each other, right? They were just happy to get in the fight, and they were just swinging at each other. And at the end of the day, yeah, Gen.G came out one step ahead. But I think if they play now, Gen.G would smoke them in their current form. That's how I feel. I think RQ still has the potential, but now I'm actually in that point where it's it is just potential. I've finally accepted the reality that they haven't really proven anything otherwise. But I will say, again, it's more so comparing it to the rest of the group. If I'm along with Bren about PaperX not coming out swinging, then quite frankly, I think DRX is also going to be in a bit of turmoil, let alone they didn't look that great during kickoff either. And I would say those are really the only other competition that RQ has. I mean, I think regardless of the fact that the Gen.G at the beginning of kickoff looked weaker than now by far, I think RQ still definitely solidly like middle of the pack and fighting to punch up. But if that's the case, if PaperX and DRX don't come out swinging, and depending on the schedule and their matchups, like they don't win a couple of those crucial matches against Gen.G T1 and Team Secret, I'm just saying, like I don't think it's that crazy for RQ to win.
I'm gonna give you the exact script. I'm gonna give you the exact fucking script. Pull up the groups again for me, Kurt. This is how it's gonna go down. The PaperX end up in their group 3-2. They end up losing to T1 and Gen.G. DRX also go 3-2. They end up winning against Gen.G T1. Who do they lose to the other two teams in some weird fashion? I don't know. It might even just be the opening match. Not sure. But then we're going to get into the tiebreaker rules, which I don't even know how those work. I don't know how those work, but DRX is going to beat PaperX on the tiebreakers. And so therefore, they're going to be the best team. I think you're right. The competition right now between those teams, it's not going to be DFM. I don't think it's going to be Zeta Division. And I don't think it's going to be Talent. And so I think you're looking at DRX, PaperX, RRQ to be the top teams in our group.
You might be writing out Zeta a bit early here, by the way. I think they could be very competitive with teams like RRQ. Zeta did not look amazing during kickoff. I had higher hopes for them, but
you just insulted Williams' honor. I mean, that was a deep cut on him right
Thank goodness Wyatt's not here, because otherwise we'd be at each other's throats.
Yeah, you'd be going crazy. I've got to defend Wyatt's opinions, just for a little bit. Let's get into some predictions, though. Okay, because I feel like the week one, we're going to see a lot of these opening games, and we can have some more discussions about how these teams are looking. And Kurt's put a little note in here that last time we did predictions, we had everybody at home vote on the top 4 teams of Masters Madrid to win the event. There were 40,000 total votes.
40,000.
And Sentinels got over 65% of the votes to win the tournament.
Holy.
So the viewers' prediction rate is currently set at 2-1.
Timmy.
Little Timmies, you are popping off at home. Those Sentinels belief tickets have come through outrageously. You can look at the community post tomorrow on our YouTube channel to vote for this week's match of the week. And you can have another opportunity. Do we know what the match of the week is, Kurt, for them to be thinking about?
I chose Loud versus Energy. That's the match of the week for me.
Typical Plat chat.
Wait, can Loud even play? Well, anyway, we'll get onto that later.
That'll happen later. I might have to change that because Loud news. That might not be a banger game, actually.
Loud just like in Ireland.
Be a forfeit.
Isn't the 700 Thieves game also first week?
Yes.
Yeah, but is 700 Thieves a match of the week? I mean, actually,
for Clout, yes.
Battle of the Century could be.
Dude,
anyway, let's get into the.
You should do T1 PaperX as the match of the week.
Well, let's get into the Pacific ones, shall we? All right, so the first Pacific one is, and I think this is a great one to kick things off too, it's Secret versus DRX. So it's DRX, a team that, we've been discussing for ages, against Secret, who've been very solid, and Bren is the only person who believes in DRX.
So this is one of their 3 matches that they win, and the other 2 are against Gen.G and T1. So they're going to lose to Bleed and Global Esports. Lock that in for my future Preds. They're going to lose those matches.
It's possible they could lose to those teams, but yeah.
What is that radioactive goop you've been sipping?
It's the melange. It's the spice. I'm seeing all sorts of possibilities right now. I'm telling you, they're going to win. They're going to come top of their group based on a weird fucking tiebreaker.
Okay, let me say this, Bren. I appreciate you. I appreciate you finding your fandom here and your support of DRX. I was trying to weaponize this against Team Secret, and you fucked it all by going for DRX. Every time, and this could still work, because every time I pred for Team Secret, every single moment that I believe that this team is going to get something done, that they're going to be victorious, that they're going to come out on top, they fucking flop. But I thought we were going to have a curse going into this one. So you might have ruined it all.
Their most impressive win in kickoff was the game against Zeta, and I can't remember whether it mattered. I think it did, right? It was the Gen.G Zeta game that didn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty quick into the play-ins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. This was the second game,
Zeta.
I think, of the play-ins. Yeah, they did own them. Yeah, I think Secret are going to be a good team. I think they're going to. It's
Oh, yeah.
You know, they like slip under the radar a little bit, but I kind of think that Alpha's pretty stacked because they've got Secret, they've got T1 in there, Gen.G obviously, but then Bleed are going to be better, I would assume, than they have been previously because you couldn't get worse than how that Bleed team played.
He's hovering. He was just hovering it for a moment. Can we, the four of us, decide to make a pact that we will all do something very silly and embarrassing if Detonation wins?
Who does Detonation play against? Sorry,
if they win the whole group, they play. Yeah, if they win the whole group, that will.
If Detonation win the whole group, I'll detonate my house. I'll blow the whole thing up. No, TNT underneath the building, Minecraft style. This shit's going to the roof. I'll detonate for Detonation. They're not winning the group. That's a safe bet.
If they
I was
win,
thinking like an anime dance.
I will run
blow myself up.
Dude, I don't even know. There's nothing. There's not much that can top blowing up the house that you don't even own.
I'm texting.
Oh yeah,
Beth.
I don't own this.
I'm messaging.
No,
Beth.
landlord just decided to increase the rent by 25%, so it would seem like an insane act of rebellion to just blow the house up and disappear. So I'll be moving to Korea.
He's increased the insurance on the house and is putting bets on TMF. He's looking for the fat payout.
But that's not happening though. Why are you even bringing it up?
Because it would just be fun. I mean, well, you also said that like crew wouldn't go on a run, so like anything could realistically occur.
But
bring it up just because it happened once doesn't mean it's always going to happen.
Okay, but I mean, like they were the 0-9 team. DMF, they're coming in this and they do look better. I agree that it looks nearly impossible, but I was just saying
of their group
for fun. What would we do? What could we do? And what will we do if they won?
I would get a Detonation gaming tattoo on my ass.
See, now that's what I was more aiming towards. Less house explosion, but you know,
tattooed onto one of my cheeks.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I think that's great.
And I will do the tattooing. That'll be the.
Well, if you want a real game that will actually be a banger, because this one also will. The Secret DRX game is going to be a banger. But I want to move on to the next one, which is a. Is this a rematch of something we saw? No, it isn't. No, it is. This was the playoff game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, and playoffs,
yeah.
So this is T1 playing against Paper Rex. And I've gone for T1. Shobra's gone for T1, and the other two of you going for Paper Rex. What was?
I messed up.
What do you mean?
I said the Paper Rex were going to lose to T1. I forgot what PREDS I made there because I did them in 2 minutes, like while I was gambling in CS:GO. So I can't remember what my PREDS were at any point.
He was clicking unlock and then alt-tabbing and typing furiously.
I was opening keys and I was like, oh, chat, what should I pred? Kurt just sent me this thing. I was like, this. Scrolling, keys opening. Beep, 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 beep. Noises. Dopamine. And yeah, I don't know. Can I change the pred so that it's consistent?
You can change your pred.
Thank you.
And no one tell Brent about like
guarantee
gambling in Vegas or like slot machines.
Yeah, I know. Please,
no
He's
one
going to ruin
those.
his life.
No more gambling.
Anything where you see him running down the road after ambulances sometimes. Just anything with a flashing light gets him. He's like a dog after an ice cream van.
he's like a magpie. Anything shiny, flashy, it just goes for it.
The dopamine receptors just go. I think T1 trolled their map veto last time they played against Paper Rex. I think they really messed up by trying to pick Ascent instead of going for their Lotus, which I think looked really solid. And I also think that T1 looked really good as a squad up until they played against Paper Rex. They lost the first one in an OT game, could have won it. If they'd been able to get this over the line and maybe go to map 3, were there chances? No, because Paper Rex were really good on Sunset 2. But if they didn't fuck up the map veto, they could have actually won this.
Yes.
So I'm punting for it to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they had a close shot. I mean, I think T1 also suffered a bit of the mental game problem, but obviously, I mean, I think everyone deserves, maybe a second, maybe up to a third chance, depending on the roster and the timing of it. So I'll give that to them. Obviously, I'm with Bren that I don't think Paper Rex is going to come out swinging with full power. And then on top of that, I just can't help. Sure, like Jingg's coming back, and yeah, they can just go back to their old comps and they'll still overpower a lot of teams. But it just seemed like at Masters Madrid, Paper Rex was just like struggling to to hold on to some semblance of a team. They played very well and they got third place. I'm not taking that away from them, but basically the fact that they had to say, okay, how do we just get into like the most comfortable position is just to go back to a lot of the old comps and whichever maps we can slot Monyet into like the Omen. And that's all great. I'm glad they did that, but that meant that they still didn't get to spend all that time figuring out how they want to look forward, how they want to change their comps, how they want to change how they play. And now with the addition of Jinggg, does that change anything? That's another question they have to figure out. And they've only had what, like a week and a half, 2 weeks to do that since Masters Madrid. So I'm also giving the benefit that T1 got to go back and really reset, right? Because they also had some things that, you know, especially some of the compositional things maybe where they might not want to be as stubborn. So I'm giving that edge as well, where T1 had the chance to recoup and PREDS, quite frankly, didn't. And I almost think this deep run at Masters Madrid could hurt them just because they couldn't like go back and fix whatever they might want to.
I think this will be a theme. Like, well, a lot of us will be predicting against the Madrid teams just because they're coming in so late to this kind of event.
I think I've been sufficiently convinced. Kurt, can you change my PREDS to T1?
Oh, you can't turn it. This was 50-50, and now
you guys had amazing points. I think I'm leaning on T1
grin
now.
on your face. You're just trying to turn it for the meme.
Well, I'm literally just trying to... Don't discredit your guys' analytical prowess. You have laid out some fantastic points, and it's a certified guarantee.
That's not how it works, though. You can't just flip your PREDS if you're the only one not just to trigger the guarantee.
We'll see if that's how it works.
That's not how it works.
We'll see if that's how it works this weekend, motherfucker.
This is the most win-win situation for Achilles, and it's ridiculous.
That's so fucked up. I can't believe you've done this, actually. Well, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this next one's an interesting one because we've got Bleed playing up against Talon. Now, that would not usually rank as anybody's match of the week. But Bren has gone for Bleed. This is newly retooled Bleed.
What the hell
bringing
was
in
I doing?
Relta and... Lord Almighty, who was the other player that they
Zest
brought back in?
and Retla.
Zest, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well,
You
Zest
believe in
is my
Zest?
goat. Zest is my goat.
I'm so excited to see Zest back, and I'm wishing all the best for him. But I just think that it's similar to TRX. I think that this is something that's going to probably take a bit of time. And while they have had the Madrid break to be able to put this together, because I mean they were working on getting Zest for quite some time, from my understanding. I think that it might still take a little bit to really see the success on stage. Talon had a really hot start and kind of fizzled out. I'm hoping that in the downtime, they've been able to just, I don't know, regulate the nerves a little bit more, because it felt like that's kind of what ended up hitting them. You know, they came out swinging similar to how I think PRX is going to come out swinging, and then they fizzled out. So I'm hoping that they come back in a lot more stable, but with still those highs that we were seeing from Governor. Because I mean, good God, that first game from him was just disgusting.
Yeah, Governor and Ban were going nuts at the beginning. I kind of am inclined to change my pick to Bleed here for some reason. It doesn't really make any sense, man, right? That Bleed team was playing some of the worst Valorant I've ever seen. It was truly the most dysfunctional squad in top-level Valorant. Because you know that they're capable of so much more because the player quality is there, and you've seen them play in like Ascension level and stuff at a really decent level. But it looked like each of the players had been scrimming with a different squad and were trying to run opposite strats while they were playing together. It was so bizarre. But that was so bad that there's got to be a bounce back. I think they can't play that badly again. There's no way.
I think here's what's going to happen. Chamber's in with the buff. He plays Chamber.
No.
We need somebody to roleplay and cosplay as Victor from the old Optic Core. So that'll probably be Retla, I think. And they play Raze, and they just run it in. Raze Neon, they just run it in.
Just keep jump shotting everybody.
Zest plays Viper, I think.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the roles, double controller, scary, obviously on the Ever Smokes, and they work it out from there. Whatever they want, they'll just work it out from there.
Yeah, an initiator would help.
An initiator would help, so maybe they can figure that one out. I'm not going to do their jobs for them. They can work that one out themselves.
Right? No, of course.
Crazy guy plays initiator.
Yeah. Honest to God, treat the meta like it's 2022. You're in a good spot, I think, with this team. I think you're in a good spot.
I don't think anyone would call this team in a good spot This
You just
team's
need
in one of the
confidence.
worst spots.
You just need confidence, man. It boils down to, do you think you can win fights? Doesn't matter. Like, as long your comp can be worse than the other people's comps, but you can have more confidence and you can win your fights and you can play together and you can cook up.
How is this team going to be
good Yuto
confident?
combos. They just need someone to rattle their little brains, feed them some bananas, get a couple of Red Bulls down their necks, and tell them everything's going to be all right. Tuck them into bed, kiss them on the forehead. I don't fucking know. They just need the confidence back. I don't know who's going to deliver that to them, but it's a very easy equation that can work out for a lot of teams.
So this is like, you're doing your Sliggy thing where it's like 1 hour, I'll fix them. Give me 1 hour with these guys, I'll fix them.
1 hour in a room, no cameras, locked doors, no police interference, off the record, and I'll sort them the fuck out.
Brent's method of getting them confidence back would just be paying somebody on Fiverr to read off an inspiring speech or some shit like that. Like get a guy who does a good Obama impersonation to just, just try to rally them up.
I mean, here's the thing. You say that they just have to play together. How are they going to play together? Their comms already looked bad. They were already a team with a roster with more than half of the roster not having English as their first language. And now you're bringing Zest in, who I believe should have worse English than Crazy Guy. And then on top of that, you've removed your IGL. Sure, the calling looked messy, but now the rumor is Scary's going to IGL. Does that impact his own performance? Is he going to
Scary is IGLing, not Zest.
As far as I mean, from what I've heard, I've heard no confirmation.
I feel like I heard that as well, but I'm not 100%.
I mean,
but here's the thing: is I've also heard that Zest just isn't really cut out to be a main IGL, and quite frankly, I'm not. I mean, he had it briefly on DRX, but he quickly gave it back over to Stats, right? So
yeah.
So I think I have to believe that. So then
he's just been side calling ever since, basically.
Stonks up for Zest though. His English is quite good.
I mean, sure,
So,
Wonderful,
but.
So what you're saying is it's not the person with good English IGLing.
Well, I don't know if he's. That's what Cho was saying. I don't know who's going to be IGL, and I don't think they even need an IGL. They just need to treat the game like it's a scrim, and then they'll start winning again. How the fuck did Yeemeister go? Like, how did his confidence get knocked this much from going from one of the best players in the world?
His confidence got knocked because he got cut from a top-level team, had to play with a tier 2 roster that didn't have a functioning system in any way like he was used to. He got brought into this team, paid $1 billion to have no idea what he and the rest of the team are up to. Their approach in the games were nightmarishly bad. He's gone from playing one role, clearly defined, with a good team system around him, to trying to, you want a Neon player? You want a Sky player? You want a Viper player? I can do it. Please, let's just win. Please.
That's what
Stop
I'm saying,
throwing, guys.
man.
Please, I'll do whatever you want.
He's become too soy. He needs to just lock in the role, say to his team, hello everybody, I'm playing Chamber. They're like, yay, it's not 2022 anymore, it's not 2022. You can't do that. I need this man to not even discuss it with his team beforehand. I just need him to lock it in the match with no practice.
They need a functioning system around Yay. Yay can't do it. Okay.
Force it.
Yay was not running around. Okay, the old optic where Yay was the best player in the world was not just fucking skipping through meadows doing whatever they wanted while Yay ran around owning everyone. Yay was set up really well for success, and then he owned everybody.
Okay, but yes, and that's why I'm saying they need to throw bodies at the wall to set up Yay, create some space for him.
Yeet Derry on it, people.
Yeah, trebuchet those motherfuckers from Fountain, bind Belong into the site, and Yeaster follows in behind. He's like, oh, look at all this space that's been created for me. ADS, pew, pew, pew. It starts popping heads, man. And we're back, baby. Bleed is so fucking back. I think that you guys just, whatever.
I've done what I can. Chobra said that I've done what I can. I can't do it anymore.
I've just been having it. I mean, this is like the inverse of Mom, Dad, stop fighting. This is like, please keep going. Yes. Please continue, because I've been having so much fun.
Mom, Dad, get the divorce. I've called the lawyer already.
Sign these forms. I've done the work for you.
Okay, I have a running theory with the meta of Valorant as it runs, which is why I'm going off the goop with a lot of these predictions, right? And the running theory is that preset ideas currently are not as valued compared to being able to cook shit up on the fly. Little util combos and your retake synergy and your ideas of how you really want to fight stuff together as a team that's currently more important than I think anything else like that. And I think that can carry you a really long way at the moment in this current era of Valorant that we're in. Don't get me wrong.
I 100% agree, actually. I 100% agree, because I think the top 3 teams of Masters Madrid were exactly the teams that were so good at doing that, right? Regardless of like the comps and whatever set plays you might have. But how in the world is this dysfunctional roster going to work together on the
vibes
fly?
have been shifted. The vibes have, there's been a seismic vibe shift occurred with them getting rid of the IGL.
We don't know if it's for the better.
Yeah, I mean, of course we've done. I'm taking a gamble.
I get that, but this could have been like, okay, there's a 6.0, and then suddenly this is going to be the fucking 8 that hits. Like, we don't. This could be way worse.
Listen, I mean, they could bring in Zelsis, and I would still have doubts if this team could get together on the vibes check. So I don't even know if Zest, the most stoic, quiet guy that we've seen next to Mako, is going to be able to do that for Bleed.
All I'm saying is the Revenge Arc is going to go crazy when Bleed play against DRX.
Okay,
it's gonna go crazy.
I mean, that storyline does interest me, but this whole like Schrodinger's Valorant, like, is it good or is it bad? I don't know until I actually get to see it, but I'm leaning towards the cat is probably going to be dead. I don't know. I think that like everything that Bren's been throwing out, I would love to think is going to make this team work. I would love to think that this is going to be a workable squad, because we were so excited about Bleed to see how they're going to be performing, and then so very let down. But I feel like all of your ranting just had the most like I can fix her energy that I've ever seen in my fucking life. It was just like, this is why this is going to work, and this and this and this, and I just don't see it coming together.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to there is actually another game, but thankfully this one is not as controversial, I think. It's still a good game, though, and it is Team Secret playing against RRQ. So both of Secret's games to open are bangers. I've gone for Secret over RRQ here. What am I smoking? I'm not really sure. I feel like both of these teams are in a pretty similar bag, to be honest. I didn't know who to punt for. I'm not on the RRQ mega hype train, though. But
so
I think it's going to be pretty even.
Here's what I expect to happen, because I went for the Team Secret prediction before, which means that I put my faith in them versus DRX. DRX will then beat them, and then I will say, Secret haven't really gotten that much better during the offseason. RRQ clearly going to win this game, and I'm predicting RRQ, and then Team Secret's going to end up winning the fucking series. I'm just testing the waters. I'm trying to see if this is a real thing that I'm experiencing, or if it's all just in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, the things are all lining up, because I'm pretty sure I've never gotten an RQ prediction correct since 2023. I'm pretty sure that I've been the pure cause of their demise in VCT Pacific. So
they have asked for you to stop doing this.
They have asked me to stop. What's even funnier is just a quick teaser. I believe I'm casting every single RQ match this stage 1. So
you're gonna be the Pan Poc to their Paper X.
But coming back to the topic at hand, I think a lot of people would agree that Team Secret and RQ probably seem like they're exactly in the same like category, like exactly in the same tier. It's just that Team Secret probably showed us a little bit more of both the goods and the bads, whereas RQ just hasn't shown us as much on either front. But in that sense, now this match, my prediction, my pick'em, is actually going off of feels more than anything, because Team Secret, they just always play to their opponents, right? They beat the Giants and then they flop, and that's how they always end up in the middle. And I think they're probably looking at RQ and they're probably thinking, no, we're definitely better than these guys. It's not going to really work out. Whereas RQ, I think if they just, as long as they don't overheat, they should be able to beat Team Secret, because they're on a similar level. So Team Secret's playing a little bit more lax. I think RQ comes out on top. I will say, on just pure numbers wise, I think Secret should be favored, but not by much. So I'm just going on to the RQ train.
I know you've always been the RRQ train. You're the bloody conductor of the RRQ train. So
he's conducting and shoveling the coal into the engine simultaneously. Give me your tickets quickly. I have to get this fucking thing running.
No one's putting the tracks down, which is kind of where the problem is, but we are going somewhere.
Train's just going anywhere it likes. The opening week of Pacific, though, looks like it's going to... The thing about kickoff is... the thing about stage 1 is there are still so many questions yet to be answered about so many of these teams. We really don't know very much because we didn't get to see a lot of games happen during kickoff for these teams that didn't make it to Madrid. So I think it's still going to be excellent to watch. Thank you very much for joining us, Achilles Chobra. Appreciate it very much. Are you going to bed now? What kind of time is it over in Korea?
It's only 2 a.m. So
Yeah.
It's like time to hit the clubs then.
no, man, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna finish my beer. I'm gonna watch probably like an episode of Shogun or something like that.
Nice. Well, okay, for everybody else, don't go and watch an episode of Shogun because we're going to continue with Plat VALORANT. We're bringing in TMV and Sliggy, and we're going to talk about EMEA and Americas as well. So we're going into a break, and thank you very much. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, y'all.
Bye. But
I'm going to call
anywhere.
my mother because she wants to know if I want to play badminton.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
I'll be back in a sec.
All right, let me find some music. I gotta add music to this setup I have instead of going to YouTube every single time. We're gonna go with some Kevin McLeod, folks. You know him, you love him.
I love the bangers that we play here. I need to get some of these for my playlist. No, this isn't Mozart. I think this is Drake. But I'm not sure. I'm not very familiar.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, how's it going? Hello.
What a devious little track that's playing.
Dude, we could lay down another Sliggy diss on top of this background. It would go crazy.
Well, the music ended.
Yeah, it ended. I'm so sad. I'm back though. Y'all ready? Ready to pod?
Is TMV here?
TMV is here. Oh, I think I might have his source goofed up. It's not on your end, TMV. Let me fix this before we go back.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I don't. Maybe it is on your end. Can you talk now? Yeah, it's on your end.
The Sentinels fans got to him eventually. He couldn't avoid them for this long.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, we can.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you want to host, Bren?
I'm in a bit of a goofy mood. You want to keep hosting?
I don't mind. Let's do it.
You don't say. I've just watched an hour of. I don't even know what. I'm just praying that DFM win their group now because that will be interesting.
It's not going to happen though, is it? It's never going to happen.
It might
It's
happen.
never gonna happen. Not a chance.
Yeah, exactly. I literally put my house on it. Take that to the bank. Hello, Sliggy. Hello, TMV. How are you doing?
Hello.
How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. How are
Yes, good.
I'm doing all right, thank you. TMV, I've seen you put out some controversial takes coming out the back of Madrid on podcasts, on your own YouTube channel as well. The hate for Sentinels, it's never gone away. You disrespecting the runs that Loud and PaperX have made, it's not. It wasn't there previously, so I can't say it's never gone away. But it's it's reviving. Well, what's led you onto such a controversial mood this year?
Nothing in particular. Just truth. Just truth. That's what it is. The thing. I mean, look, it's not just me, right? I don't know if you saw that Boaster did a thing, and he was basically saying that all the teams, weren't like Fnatic was scrimming them, and he doesn't think that Fnatic are that good, and Fnatic were playing them close, so no one else could be that good either.
Yeah.
I just think we've seen a general, like in my opinion, the best teams from Champs last year would be like the best teams, right? Like your PaperX, your EG, they stayed together. Like I don't know, because of the new rosters and stuff, new meta. I think it just it took up a little time for teams to get there. But yeah, the Sen fan thing is just because like I made a video like about a Sen game and I just focused on Loud and I got a fuck ton of hate for that for some reason. It's like if you make a video about a Sentinels game, you must focus on Sentinels. How dare you focus on Loud? And it was when Loud were playing that comp on Lotus and it made no fucking sense on that map. So the video was about this comp doesn't make any fucking sense on this map, and then all the Sen fans in the comments are like, you're not giving Sentinels enough credit. Where's the Sen credit and stuff like that. But
what you don't understand is the Sen fans know that they manipulated Loud into playing that composition on Lotus, where you can't play defense whatsoever. Yeah. We actually, when we saw Loud play that game on Lotus, I can't remember who was in the stack, but I think me and you were as well, Bren. We were playing in Americas because we were like casting the game or something, and we ran the Loud comp on Lotus, and it cooks on attack side. It's going so crazy on attack side.
We used a gecko. We put a gecko into it, and it cooked so much harder. Yes, because you can do that really annoying post plant where you open up the door, you plant onto the corner with the wingman
on A,
and then you just play your post plants from tree and back rubble with the door open slowly.
The Phoenix was so much fun to play on the attack side, and on defense, I was like, I can't do a thing. I can't do anything. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant. But let's get into it. Let's talk EMEA first, though, before we get roped into talking about the greatest region, the region with the current trophy, Americas. Giants are a team that have made a big roster moves. Quite a lot of teams are making roster moves heading into stage 1, and Giants have made a pretty sizable one, removing nukkye and adding Purpo. For people who aren't aware, Purpo has been around for a long time in the tier 2 kind of things. Occasionally poked his head up into tier 1 as usually a sub. Sliggy, Purpo was very much around your time while you were coaching as well. He was playing for Gambit during that era. So tell me about Purpo.
So he was like the kind of up and coming duelist that everyone was like, well, this guy's going to be on the top team like next year or within like 6 months. And then he would essentially dominate in practice, dominate in like the tier 2 games, and then he would have happen like what you said, where he would get a chance to stand in for a team and then he would just completely flop. It is basically where he stands. But in terms of like practice, he absolutely bangs. And in terms of tier 2 at the moment, he's playing for KPI and he's just like putting up crazy numbers. So it's someone that we know can have crazy highs, but in terms of at the top level, we haven't seen it yet. But he also, I mean, he had like one map for they were called Mech back then on Breeze, and then he stood in for a best of 3 with Ascend against BBL. I think that's about it.
You can't really get a good sense when he's just standing in for a map here and there.
Exactly, yeah. But in terms of like actual practice, the guy would always drop like 25 plus against us. So yeah, he's legit, man. I think it's a weird move because nukkye is really good as well. And I know that I think Redgar used to live with him, like they used to live in the same house. So that feels like it's a lot of his saying.
Nukkye,
yes,
right?
it's Purpo, yeah. So he probably has a lot to do with actually getting him in. But yeah, it's a weird one just because nukkye is so good. And then I think the roles don't make sense. So I think the rumor is Vitinho's going to stop playing duelist and then Purpo's duelist. I think that's the current rumor, and it's not 100%.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen from this year, nepotism again works. We know this. So you bring in your flatmate, just what could go wrong? We know that it's going to work.
Yeah, Purpo is just Redgar's flatmate. What a way of describing this player. Look at his stat card, and then you're just Redgar's flatmate. Just happens to be dominating tier 2.
No, yeah, he's... the only question for me with Purpo is, like, what are the roles going to be? Because he's mostly played duelist. Like, he's played a ton of Jet if you go, like, all time. Like, that's by far his most played agent. But then, like, more recently, he's been playing some initiators, as you can see just there. So it's like, it's kind of a bit of a weird one. But then nukkye was playing Sentinel for them. So I assume the Hoodie's going to be playing Sentinel, I would guess. But it looks like multiple people might have to change their roles around, which is also going to be a bit weird. And to be honest, Giants, I just feel like I had hope for Giants coming into the season. I was actually pretty high on Giants. But it just feels like they've been overtaken, by the Kami Cores, the Heretics, those kind of teams. And I'm just not sure that this is gonna reinvigorate them to be up there all of a sudden, because I think that the top of EMEA could be quite competitive.
I think it's going to be very competitive. I think this is a weird move to make. Not necessarily. Okay, first of all, I didn't think that nukkye was playing that well recently on this role, but I think nukkye is a fantastic player. I think that there's just something weird about this Giant squad where, to me, when I watch them, they seem like the kind of team where have you heard the phrase, the perfect is the enemy of the good? When you try to do things so by the book that you end up just messing it up and not finding that creativity, the opportunism, that kind of stuff. When I watch Giants, they sometimes have really nice set game plans, but they lack something. They lack the spark of life in their eyes. It's like having a conversation with ChatGPT. Like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not a human, is it? And you can tell when it's spitting out stuff that just looks like a paragraph from your childhood essays. So that seems a little missing to me. And I'm not sure that roster moves, like, obviously roster moves can get you there, but more so because you change the interpersonal stuff, not because you change the skill component of it.
Am I back?
Yeah, I think
it's so
kind
funny.
of. Yeah,
So funny just watching.
Hello. They need to down a pint before they jump into the games, I think.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you are on one today.
You always play a little bit better when you're a little bit sauced up. Now, does that count as a performance-enhancing drug in the Riot rulebook? I don't know. Would they
banned it from darts? So
would they? Yeah, they had.
Did they ban it from darts?
Yeah. Too steady of a hand. Yeah.
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
You
that they
don't play
banned it
better
because
when
it's
you've had a drink.
performance enhancing. I don't think they necessarily.
Surely they banned it
that.
because they were dealing with like serial alcoholics playing darts all the time.
Yeah, I think it was more to do with that than the like performance enhancing part. But
But it is true though. You know, you get a little bit of the confidence back, you get a little bit loosey goosey, and you forget about playing picture perfect Valorant because, like you said, it can be the enemy in terms of when you're trying to play well. I think this seems like a bit of an overreaction, maybe in terms of them losing in arguably the hardest group in the kickoff of EMEA.
With hindsight, hardest group, yeah, because Heretics and Karmine Corps were there, but it didn't.
But that's the problem though. Like they need to be better than those teams to do something this year, right? Like they were in a group, they were in a hard group with Karmine Corps, Heretics, and Foot as well. So that's a hard group, but you're gonna need to beat those teams to, like, and then you add in Fnatic and Navi and Vitality as well. Like all of a sudden, it's like you got to beat some of these teams.
Yeah.
They couldn't have had a more different approach to the beginning of their game compared to the teams that they lost to in that group. Like when you think about the way that Heretics and Karmine Corps have approached the game, they're very creative. Lots of either set plays or new ideas or different ideas, like running the Neon on a lot of maps or running a huge amount of the Yoru with the Raze stuff all over the place too. These are unusual ideas, and meanwhile you just have the like very standard gameplay coming out from Giants. It was
I would
extraordinarily different approach.
I was saying they would even make their life hard in my eyes. I remember the Lotus game against K-Corp. For their default to take over towards C, they would use the Skydog. I've never seen a team use the Skydog to take mound control. And then they're like, well, how do we now get into sites or clear any corners? It's like, guys, you have a Boombot, you have Sky Flash. Like, surely one of these is better. I was watching that and I thought it was complete madness. Like whoever came up with that default, that is atrocious. Like out of all the util you have, that just didn't. I just think they're making it hard. They're playing on hard mode for some of the stuff they're doing. And the thing that annoys me the most is Cloud is so good at the moment. It's just wasted potential. Yeah, that's the main thing here. It's just like this guy could be a top 10 player. He could be on like all of our lists in terms of like going to this event. Guy to keep an eye on, and yeah, every single time it's just like I don't know. I don't have faith for this team. I hope that maybe they needed a change, and I feel like that's probably how they felt with this one. They needed something drastic, but
I would imagine from what I know of nukkye does tend to be like a voice in those kind of situations. So maybe just having less voices is part of this change. Not that nukkye's like a stupid player or anything like that. Oh, Kurt's found the dog usage.
Yeah, look at there it is. The dog comes in. Need to take mount control. Let's use the Sky Dog.
Like, yeah, that's actually really standard. There's one team in the world that does that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about that, but like the idea sometimes of simplifying things by just having less people involved in idea generation or input.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think that can help in terms of like too many cooks. I think that's definitely
ask the coach with no IGL in his team.
Yeah, with the complete opposite from what we probably had. But
needed a chef desperately. I was putting up LinkedIn resumes. Please hand them in. Anyone with cooking experience.
Yeah, but it can definitely be a thing when there's like too many ideas. And I guess vocal people, if you want it to be like one set way of playing and someone doesn't agree, then it has to change. And this is one of the classic things of we don't know what's going on internally in terms of teams, so we got to trust it's the best call and see what happens.
I want to move on now to there's not too much happening in EMEA overall in terms of like roster changes and stuff like that. It's one of the more quiet regions for that stuff. But I did just want to get your opinions on the old guard versus the new. While we're talking about like Giants, who were the 4th place team from last year, do you think teams like all the teams that we were rating high at the beginning of the year, so Fnatic, Na'Vi, Foot, those are the big 3 that really come to mind for me. Do you think those teams are going to be able to rebound in stage 1 and have big performances versus teams like KC and Heretics who've otherwise been winning in kickoff?
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think the top 6 in EMEA, like I would add Vitality into that. I think the top 6 is going to be close, and I think it's like I honestly don't know how you would want to rate them. I wouldn't really mind in a lot of different orders, to be honest. I think you could really make an argument for a lot of those teams. Because, like, even if we do take, like, a Foot, right? In their game against Karmine Corps, they lost 20-18 in overtime on the first map. And then won the second map 13-4. So that very easily could have just been the end of Karmine Corps right there, right? So I don't think there's necessarily, like, going to be a mega gap. I do think that it's funny because Giants, to me, last year were just, like, the decent team, right? And last year, just being a decent team got you to 4th because so many teams were like just in utter chaos, right? They just had no idea what they were doing. But this year, yeah, especially like in EMEA, like, you know, I feel like a lot of teams are feeling pretty decent about where they're going. And so being a decent team, it's not going to fucking get you shit this year. You know, you have to be good.
Of all of the regions, EMEA has cleaned the most poop out of the bed sheets. This year, there is so little compared to last year. So the fecal matter almost nowhere to be seen. This is unbelievable because it was everywhere. It was like a cake. It was just bed sheet poo.
It was on the ceiling. It was on the walls and ceiling. How did you get it there? How the fuck did you get it there, Common Core? It's not even possible. Your ass doesn't stretch that high. How the fuck did that happen?
But the cleanup job in the off season has been immaculate.
It's been so
I mean, Neil Zenio on his hands and knees scrubbing. Zaisha's hired one of those carpet cleaners to just redo the entirety of the floor. They've been doing an incredible job over there in EMEA. Let's get into some of the games then, shall we? Kurt, you said you may need some time to swap the assets. Are we ready to go?
I totally forgot. I'm glad I put that note. I'll do that right now. Start yapping.
Okay.
We need some yap time.
We just need some yap time then. Oh, well, would you mind bringing up the groups while you change the assets? And then we can yap a little bit about the groups. Because we were talking about Group Alpha, being a little more stacked in Pacific. How would you rate the comparative strength of these two groups?
Dude, it's...
Good luck to Liquid is what I'll say.
I mean, Group A seems like it's more stacked, though, no? On paper.
I think Group A is more stacked. Yeah, it's really stacked. Consider there's only 5 teams there as well. It's really stacked.
Yeah, that's a tough group for Liquid and BBL. I think they
Omega seems like it'll be really fun to see that like playoff line. Because when you look at the teams that are in there, like you've got Foot, Genomates, maybe GIANTX, like all battling over that playoff line in my head. Whereas, Liquid just look like the difference between 3 and 4 might be very difficult to get over. Tough one. Although at the same time, the groups are not battling against each other. They're battling against the other group, so who the hell knows?
Well, I will just say as well, though, that it's very important. You're talking about how this is a weird format in general, but it's very important to finish first in your group. Because you might not remember, but the playoffs is single elim for the 2nd and 3rd place teams in the first game.
It is. Why did they do that? I forgot about that.
They always do this. Man.
Yeah, so first place matters a lot because then 3 teams go to Shanghai, but you're already in the top 4. So just being a first place team, you've got like at least a 75% chance of making it, and obviously you get the bye and you get more time to prepare and stuff like that. So
how do the bloody thingies work? How do you decide who's a top team if they're not playing against?
I would assume it has to be maps, right? Maps and then rounds. If it comes down to rounds, that's going to be very funny.
It'll mostly be just done based on match differential. Though.
Yeah.
Obviously, your record first, but then if we get tiebreakers,
how can we still have a single elim in this? Like we're actually in a league system now where everyone's playing against each other. How are we then having 2 and 3 play a single elim? I missed out on this. I even did a whole video on the format, and I was like, and I just
but it wasn't announced at that point.
Yeah, and I was just like, there's no way. And I kind of looked on Liquipedia, and they had like missed a gap, and I was like, oh, Liquipedia must have just messed up, man. Like, there's no way we'd have a single elim here, and somehow we have a single elim after like play 5 games, and then you have to lose lose 1 game, and it's the same as kickoff again. Like, what are we actually doing? Like, why is that happening?
The reason that they've done it is because, and last year there was a couple examples of this as well. There was this year, I think, maybe as well, where if you win the first game and you have a double elim, so you win the first game, you play the team that has a bye. The team that loses, then let's say you were playing Fnatic last year, right? So you won your game, and now you have to play against Fnatic, who have got a bye. You've got no chance of beating Fnatic last year, right? So then you lose to Fnatic, but now you're playing a team who had more time to prep after losing the first game. So like in some instances, it was kind of better to lose the first game so you could get more time if you had like no chance of being like.
If you went 0-1, you were in the same spot as someone who went 1-1 at the beginning with double elimination 16. But this could all just be avoided, and I said this last year to them. In stage 1, when you have less information about the teams, just make it an 8-team playoff. Because that way you're only eliminating the absolute worst teams possible. You can move it to a 16 playoff for stage 2 when you actually have more information to work with. But yeah, it's a. Ooh, I love format discussions.
I was gonna say, we're midway through. We're still talking about the format. It's
Give it up,
crazy.
man. Give it up. Let's go to the bold predictions. Good. I don't care if you're ready. We're fucking going. Bold predictions for who's going to win the groups. God damn. Okay, so 3 of us have gone with Fnatic. And then nobody's got the same pred anywhere here. So for audio listeners, TMV has gone with Fnatic and Na'Vi.
Are you smoking crack? Hello? There's
For audio listeners, Sliggy has also gone for Fnatic and Na'Vi. So disregard what I said about nobody having the same pick. They're too far away on the opposite sides of the screen. My eyes couldn't process. And then I've gone for Fnatic Heretics, and Bren's gone for the 2 teams that did really well in kickoff, which is KC.
Why am I the only one to have gone for the 2 teams that did really well in kickoff?
That is bizarre.
Well, I can explain the Heretics one because Heretics are going to be in chaos. The first week they don't have Woot and they don't have Mini Boo. The second week they also won't have Woot. I don't think.
I did my
I've trolled actually.
forgetting this.
So yeah,
Same.
Heretics are going to be in a bit of chaos. I think all year. Why we didn't pick Karming Core? I don't know.
I'll do the Karming Core one. I think that their strats are too similar at the moment. They've shown so much in their like ones instead of like Sentinels being able to prove they can change so much up. They're maybe on the opposite end where it is just like set strats and set ult rounds is going to be too easy to anti. I think they're gonna do fine. They're gonna do great. But I think in terms of reaching the heights they've already reached, I don't think so. And yeah, like you said, man, Heretics gonna have a rough time. I don't even know how it works. So they're gonna have to use Weber again.
I think they might.
No, they
but
said
first week they might.
No, first week they said that they're going to be using Paddy again.
Yeah, but they have two. They have 2 players missing.
So Mini Boo has
Wait, what?
school, right?
Yeah,
So,
Mini Boo has school for week 1. He's at
who else is he missing,
exams.
Woot doesn't have a visa.
Visa.
What? When did this happen?
Recently.
For the first
What do you mean?
2 weeks.
What do you mean he
right?
doesn't have a visa? Weren't they working on that shit like when he was 17? Can you not get him a work visa because he's a child? Can't you just say he's working at the mines?
I don't know.
Did they have to begin the process when he turned 18? That does not seem like there's got to be ways of applying for something, because when you turn 18 you become eligible, surely.
You would imagine so, but
Well, we've trolled the Heretics picks. I mean, we can move on from this. I realized I did this because I did it while I was streaming, and my chat was like, "You do realize this has happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've already submitted it," and I'm just gonna stick with it.
To be fair though, Bren, with Heretics, they play Fnatic first, so they might have lost that game anyway. You know, they might.
Well, okay,
they might not get punished too
but
hard.
also, Woot doesn't have a visa. Who the fuck knows when Woot's gonna get the visa?
Dude, I want to get back onto the Karming Core stuff though, surely, to talk about this over Fnatic, because I don't think I really agree with the fact that they've used up the full kit. They've used up the full playbook, because I thought that one of the biggest bread and butters, biggest strengths of Karming Core was their ability to cook up on the fly decision makers of how they wanted to either retake map control, fight together, using their util in really, really cool ways. Don't get me wrong, they had the counter strategy was off the charts. Eng's a masterclass when it comes to that. And they had really good ideas with the constant structure, but that wasn't the whole game plan for Karming Core. They have that spark, that little bit of extra that I think will just give you more consistency over the course of the season, especially a split.
What I saw from KC was less so, to your point about like cooking things up halfway through the rounds and stuff. It was less to do with their utility, in my opinion, and more to do with like the way that they would play with each other in those really difficult
just their
moments.
protocols. They were really drilled.
But that kind of went to shit in Madrid. I didn't see that much.
But that's a big stage experience thing. These players needed that. They needed that. They needed to lose. They needed to get
the end all debate.
Teeth.
Does being a rookie on a big stage matter? We go
and
back and forth.
It did matter, right?
Time.
Like in this specific situation.
No, I think it did.
Yeah,
I think it kind of did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
But
is that
going to mean the next time we say?
Yeah, but every time,
because sometimes it does.
Shanghai, Bren's going to be on one of these episodes saying it doesn't fucking matter, guys. It never fucking matters. Don't worry about it.
I was never the champion at that. I can't remember who it was on a prior episode, but I was never the champion at that. But I do believe, seriously, they've shown that they've got it in them already, and they've got kicked in the mouth. They can get back up again. They can get a bit of dental reconstruction surgery and get back out there and start showing off the pearly whites again. They've got that dog in them. I think that they've got enough consistency to be the top of their group this season.
Fnatic and Karming Core should both be favored basically against everybody in the Omega group, unless Heretics are playing at full strength. And because Fnatic are getting an easier game against Heretics early on, and because I think Fnatic are going to be getting better and showing less, I favored Fnatic. Now, I also didn't know that Woot was getting smuggled into the country to play video games. So maybe I should have changed the.
You're putting too much thought into the Preds. You're putting way too much thought into a Pred that is 5 weeks from now. You need to throw caution to the wind with this segment. I've realized
fuck it. BBL are gonna win then.
Go on, change his thing, Kurt. Change it. Go on, please.
No, don't. I don't want to change it to BBL. Please. No, I don't want to change it to BBL.
You got to throw caution to the wind, man. The unexpected becomes the expected in these formats. That's esports, baby. You can't predict this. AI can't predict this. Doesn't matter how many Twitter ads you get from tech bros telling you they've got perfect gambling odds. They can't predict this, man. I'm telling you, it's esports. Anything can happen. That's why we fucking watch. All right? You don't know what's going to happen. It's up in the air.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of defeats the point of this next prediction segment, though, eh?
Yeah, let's just not bother.
The AI for it. Do you know what we've forgotten though? The fact that Clove comes into the game next week, and that is how. Imagine Na'Vi with smokes. We've never really seen that. We've never really
That's
seen
a dangerous
that.
idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I don't
saying.
think
Now
Na'Vi
they
will
have
play
smokes.
Clove.
They probably won't. But
I don't think they'll
not
play
first
it.
split. I don't think most teams will. The fact that
No,
it comes in second week, it's hard to actually put it in.
Shao's playing smokes for them anyway on a lot of maps.
I haven't
kind
thought
of,
about
they
that
mix it
though,
up.
but I really think of all the teams in the world, the team that dislikes the duelist picks the most is probably like Na'Vi. The way that they think about it is like, oh, you need the agents with the most utility to be able to
You don't
help each
have the
other and
flash. You don't
support
have
each
the
other.
TPs. I don't think Angel's going to buy
the
on
idea
it at
of
all.
the idea of Angel playing the duelist only
I don't think he's
smokes
going to buy on
agent.
it.
I think he'll find it boring. I think he'll be like, I can't TP far enough.
He's like, I love this downtime where I get to think about the game. I don't want to still have to be doing stuff while I'm dead. The other thing too is, do you remember when Boaster just decided to fuck it, buy an op and win for them in OT or whatever?
Yeah, on
in
bind.
the game on bind. What if he's playing Clove? What if they don't give it to somebody who, like one of their big aimers? And what if Boaster's just running around owning people on Clove?
I mean, he's been practicing his aim.
Yeah.
He's
He
been
got
training
an
it up.
aim coach,
Yes,
right?
Boaster could practice his aim for the next 1,000 years, and I don't think he would get to the level of Alpha. That's
No. But he could be what Victor was. It all comes back to the
It
optical.
comes back to Victor.
It all comes back to the optical. He could be the Victor to Ye. Do you see where I'm coming at here? Who's Ye? Anyone on the team, anyone on Fnatic, give them
got 4
space
Ye's.
created, and they can. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, space created. Dude, Boaster cracks one open, rips off a head. Okay, cool. We weren't really expecting that, but here we go. We got a first kill, and then the side. I'm telling you, I think that could work.
Well, I'm saying I think Boaster might play a lot better when he's just got the fuck it attitude and just locks the Clove and runs it down. Let's get into some Preds then, though, shall we? Instead of just discussing bizarre, esoteric hypotheticals. So, yeah, what are our EMEA Week 1 predictions? Okay, yeah, the first one that we've got here should be a slam dunk, to be honest with you. It's Carmine Core, the color is blue, against GIANTX. Secret against...
Roll it back.
Roll it back.
Dude, there's so many buttons and I'm pressing them all. Let me press the right one this time.
Carmine Core against GIANTX. And
Oh boy.
there we go. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
should
this
be a
one's
free-
safe, though.
It should
This
be
one's-
safe.
It's a
really?
safe
I remember, I think me and Sliggy were on and we were all like, oh, Fnatic for Madrid? That's super safe. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Super safe.
I don't think this is safe. You think this is safe?
Giants in the past have been a big anti-team, but I don't think they're going to be a big anti-team when they've just added Purple in and they're still having to figure out all of their role issues. I think this is safe because Giants should still have a lot to figure out.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm just kind of going over the fact of just Purple big games hasn't been able to show it in terms of the stand-in games. That's the only thing that kind of swayed me over. You got to think though that K Corp has shown a lot and they're just flown back. I mean, I guess they came last, so they got home a bit quicker. So yeah, I mean, I guess they had a week to change stuff. I don't know. I don't think this is a safe one by any means, but I'm still sticking with my prediction though.
What are the odds then? If you had to give like a chance of the upset happening here, where's the
60-40?
60-40?
60-40.
That's way closer than I would put this.
Really?
But yeah, I just don't see I just don't see Giants putting it together that quickly. Maybe I don't understand how long this has been in the works though. But it can't have been in the works for a huge amount of time, surely, because they were playing in kickoff with their former roster.
Sliggy, you have such a calming demeanor.
Thank you.
I felt like
where did that come from? That was so out of the blue.
I don't know. I get like I felt like a wild animal coming into this episode of the podcast. Like my hair's all over the place. I'm a wild boar roaming the streets of somewhere, just picking around the trash. And now I feel like there's like I've been I don't know. You've sedated me with your voice.
I'll get you hyped up again if you want.
In a good way though. You've calmed down the child. The unruly child is. I just feel like I just need to listen to everybody now.
I mean,
maybe it's my meds kicking in. Actually,
it could be.
It could be that. My meds kicking in.
Is that what was in the glass? It was your meds.
No, I took my meds before the episode though, and they do take a bit of time to kick in.
Yeah, we could all give it a what is the color if you want to get energized again. And you just scream blue.
I got my jersey. Where's the jersey gone?
Yeah, that's true. We did get jerseys. Unfortunately, you know that you said KC have had quite a while to warm up. They couldn't give us our jerseys in person because they'd already taken the flight home. So,
that is unlucky.
Let's move on to the next game though, because the next game's a banger too. It is Vitality playing against Na'Vi. The yellow is just blasting my eyes there. And I believe in Vitality. Dude, this new Vitality team, I am still excited for. Despite the fact that Vitality did not live up to all of my hype, for sure. They got overtaken by the hype from KC and Heretics. I'm still on the Vitality train because I think that Trex is outrageously good, and this version of Vitality that's had time to cook should be monstrously good.
Yeah, I think this is like I was looking at this. I think it's a 50-50. It's a stacked team.
It's a staff.
It's a
They got an army on the case. They got the journalist wing ready for the team when they're rolling out, man. Like holy shit.
They have that's 12. I mean, yeah, there's 12 of them there. They got a sub as well. This is a 50-50. I kind of hope Vitality win it because I want them to get off to a good start. I want them to be like a contender. I guess I just went for the safe bet of just we've never seen them with Trex. Who knows how it's going to be, but it's been in the works for a while. So they might have even been practicing before, like kind of in the off season when they knew this was going to happen.
I'm pretty sure that they changed their roles. Like during kickoff after the off season, they changed their roles to put Destrian on some really odd setups. And I'm pretty sure that was because they wanted to play the same stuff that they were going to play when Trex got into the team.
Yeah.
Because they were playing like Destrian was playing Cypher and Killjoy and stuff like that for them, which has got to be to set up Trex.
I'm just glad you picked Vitality because this one is not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. This one is like really, really close. I think this should be a banger game because my doubt with Vitality coming in was obviously the new players, Kicks and Runner, that we hadn't seen perform at a top level before. I was like, well, who knows? They might be good, they might be shit, but they were good. And I mean, I was really impressed with Kicks and his Sky. I think Kick, like with the Sky change, I feel like most people looked shit. Right, they were using their utility too readily. They were playing as if they had a regenerative flash, and then they're gonna get it back. He always has utility. Like when he sky flashes, it always is finding like good value for them. Like he has incredible timing on that. So I'm still, a part of me is still like, I wish Safe was on Duelist. I do kind of long for those days, but I still think this team will be good. But I've gone for Na'Vi because I guess I just like Na'Vi.
Yeah, I think Na'Vi will cook. I think they'll cook this season, to be honest, because like all the problems that they were having last year, I could still feel it in my bones. Like the way I've said this every single time I talk about Na'Vi on this podcast, but they call a good macro game, and the players are very intelligent in that they find gaps themselves and they'll work off it and they'll find opportunities through that. The thing that was always lacking was just the prep time, the structure that comes with it. Like they've now had that. They've had a lot of time to cook here with a roster that we know has seen success before. And I think that a lot of them are quite hungry to prove that they've still got what it takes to be a top team after having a pretty piss poor year by probably their standards last year. And so I'm high up on Na'Vi. I think that they've been given time to cook. I'm excited to see what's going to be happening with this team. I think they should be really good. I think they should be really, really good. I think that yeah, I'm not saying they're heavy favorites, but I mean, I would give them the advantage in this matchup. I don't think it comes down to a coin flip.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think this is like this year in my mind is their last like chance to keep this core like alive essentially and to actually like give us faith in it. So I think at one point they need a big performance. So yeah, I'm expecting them to kind of dig deep. And dude, I tell you, this game is how much you play is like such a big factor, and hopefully they're all very hungry. Like I think so much comes down to just the amount of hours spent in terms of like playing just the game itself, whether it's prac or just like ranked and stuff. So yeah, I think losses early on, I think teams like Na'Vi and Fnatic should be bouncing back pretty heavy.
I'm excited to see what kind of shit they've cooked up. This is a weird meta, and man, dude, both of these teams could cook up some weird stuff. Do we even know that Vitality are keeping the same roles that they had last time? Like, do we know that Safe isn't playing Duelist?
Not a clue.
I mean, I imagine that they were doing what they were doing in kickoff, right?
It's been a little while. But yeah,
it has been a while, but
yeah.
I mean,
who knows? Yeah, I'm excited to watch it, though. It should be a banger of a game. Let's get into the next one, though, because this on paper looks like it should be a banger, but you've just actually ruined my desire to watch it. This episode has killed my enjoyment for this game. Fnatic Heretics coming up. And three of us have gone with Fnatic. Bren's rooted for Heretics, and he's just found out that they're going to be playing with 2 subs.
I predated on stream, and my chat told me that they were playing with 2 subs after, and I was like, well, fuck, I've submitted it now, and I tell you what, I'm not going to change it. I'm going to tank this pred, and we'll vacate the curse. We'll get that shit out of there. Because Fnatic should be the overwhelming favourites. But on the off chance that they do win with a coach, I think it'll be really funny if I'm the sole person that's right. So
that would be crazy.
I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in. I'm just leaving it in.
It's not even just that they'd have to play with a coach. They also have to redo all of their roles because Miniboo isn't playing Duelist. So yeah. I don't know what the original game plan was, whether Woot was going to fill in as Duelist at the beginning and then go back to some different roles or what. But they are going to be playing some weird shit to open up here. This is going to be a bonkers match.
Yeah, Fnatic lost this. Oh my god! Imagine the reactions if they lost to a code. Like that would be crazy. What I want if that happens, what I want is like, you know, the little mini documentary they did like after they lost a kickoff, and like they were like, oh guys, you know, we're really sad and all that. I just want more progressively more sad, like as they go through, like they're losing to like Heretics with a coach. It's like, guys, come on.
Let's move on to the final game. We don't need to talk about this one too much. We already have. It's Team Liquid versus Foot. The final big match happening in EMEA to open things up. And everybody's gone with Foot, apart from myself, who's punted for Liquid. Was I having a fucking fever dream? Why did I go for I haven't believed in Liquid all year.
They pay Sliggy and he's not picking them.
Did I really pick Liquid?
Why did you go for Liquid?
yeah,
I've got no blood.
I'm going to double check. I may have...
No, it's probably me. It's probably I just probably clicked a button. Dude, I don't know. I don't believe in Liquid, but I'll tell you what, I wasn't that happy about how Foot played in general throughout kickoff, but they were still all right. Like, they were still pretty decent.
I hate the whole cracks not being on KO thing, man. They piss me off, dude. Like this, I was hyping them up as well. I'm just like, this is it. This is their chance to shine. We got the KO coming in. The sky's out, and then they just go for some completely new meta. And Cracks are just playing different agents. And the only map they win is when he's playing KO. Just KO is so strong right now. Just play KO. You guys had it. You had the 2 years of prep. You had everything there ready. And they fucked it up, man. They went and changed all their comps. So I'm thinking that they go back, they change it to KO, and this is how they should have looked at kickoff. I think they dropped the ball heavy on this one, but I imagine like they should beat Liquid because they dropped the ball even more. Like the ball's lost for Liquid pretty much in terms of where I'm looking. So
I mean, the funniest thing is too, and people are asking in the chat as well, like, don't they play against Koi? Isn't Team Liquid playing against Koi? Like, yeah, they play against Koi and Foot to open things up. And that Team Liquid Koi game was tragic when we saw it previously in the group stage of kickoff. So if we get a repeat of that to open up the season for like stage 1 proper, dude, where have I come up with this pick from?
It's there, guys.
Fucking synapses were popping.
Are you going to swap it?
Yes.
Oh, you're trying to swap it.
Lord almighty, yes, was I not making that clear? Yes. Yes, God, yes, please.
I will say in their defense, they had a bad start last year and they bounced back.
They had a dreadful start last
really
year.
bad start last
and then
year.
they bounced back. They won EMEA and then they flopped in the final global tournament too. I don't know what they're cooking over there in Liquid, but they are like, it's a roller coaster ride every single time.
I'm not sure I can have the screenshot. Do I need to switch? I'm gonna ban off the people at Liquid not watching this podcast, but now there's gonna be a screenshot somewhere, and I'll stick with it.
Yeah. Are there any other like trap game kind of when you have a super week to begin? Sometimes there's really weird like trap game things that happen at the start of the in the week. So is everybody playing twice to open things up?
So the way it works, and I think it's different for each region at the moment. So EMEA are just switching around. One team every week plays twice.
Right, and it's Liquid this week.
Yeah, whereas I think other teams, like other regions, sorry, I think you guys have extra days that we did return. So I think that's right.
So Liquid just drew the shortest of short straws here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Opening the season up with a double week.
Just a double.
Well,
I mean, could work better, but
yeah.
Unlucky. Well, at least it wasn't Heretics. I mean, if Heretics had drawn the short straw and
that
they had
would
a
have
sub,
been
that would have been
horrendous.
the worst case scenario. All right, let's move on to another team then that is having problems. We'll move away from EMEA and we'll move towards a topic that we were briefly discussing previously, which was what the hell is happening with Loud? Are Loud even going to be able to play? They're all like bloody stuck in Dublin, aren't they, or something? Just trying to get their visas sorted. So does anyone have an update on this? Because I don't know whether they're even going to get to America in time.
Recent thing was Kawazin saying they're all in Ireland.
And that was a few days ago, right? Like
that was
3 or 4 days ago?
a few hours ago.
Oh, that was like real recent.
Yeah, that was a few hours ago. And it was a few days ago, like 6 days ago, Sadek was saying, I don't think they're going to be able to scrim. But again, it's not in English. It got translated. So I had to trust the translations for it. But yeah, Sadek just saying that they're probably not going to be able to get visas to scrim for the first split, like at all. So yeah, a little bit chalked for Loud, isn't it? Coming into split 1.
Yeah, it's chalked in the sense of like not being able to scrim, of course. But if you can't even turn up for the matches, then
what happens?
Yeah, are they going to have to play like online from Mexico City or
from
like,
Ireland,
like,
from
where,
Ireland to
Ireland?
100 ping.
They did have a precedent this year for EMEA. Like they allowed the Turkish players to play online, and my God, that was not. Well, I guess they dealt with it fairly well, to be honest with them.
But can
as
you
much
do
of a
that
tech
if they
issue
like?
that
Because
is.
where would they be able to go?
I mean,
would
I
they
think
even
it
be
would have
allowed
to
to
be-
play? They wouldn't be allowed to play from America.
It would have to be
right?
Mexico, I think.
They'd have to be even further away. So
Yeah.
who knows?
It's pretty massive. I mean, geographically,
What
I
is
don't know the appropriate place.
People do scrim though. Like the LATAM North teams do scrim against the Americas teams, or have done in the past, without the ping being horrendous. But like it's bad.
They would just delay the games, right? I think it's probably the easiest way to do it. Put them at the end or something.
We're speculating. Meanwhile, somebody involved in the Americas decision-making process is just losing their minds. Like, yeah, I don't know either.
He's watching, trying to get tips of what we should do. Yeah. What do they say is the best idea?
Is it easier to get player visas in Canada? They could go to Vancouver and they could
You're
play
asking the
from
right people,
Vancouver
bro.
to. They could set the server up in Seattle, and then they could play to that server.
I think that's actually a thing, isn't it? Didn't Moist Critical do this for his Apex team? Something like that. I think that is
That's
actually,
Canada instead.
yeah, I think that is actually a thing. So maybe.
Why don't we just fly everybody else to Dublin? And then I don't have to go all the way to
They're
LA.
probably just gonna go. They're just gonna tweet out again. Oh, Loud can't play, so we're back down to 10 teams in Americas. Sorry, guys, we're going back. We're going back to the original plan. 10 again.
If you'd read the rules, you would realize that if you weren't able to turn up for your first game, you actually lose your partnership spot.
Yeah.
I would be down to just move the Americas League to Canada, though. I've never been to Canada, but I would be down.
Yeah.
I think
one
it could
team.
be quite enjoyable. No, yeah, just for one team. Just everybody move up. I mean, not that Canada's any cheaper in terms of rent than LA. It doesn't really save them costs in that regard, unless you go to just the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's got to be cheap rent in Canada somewhere, like
There's
in the middle
definitely
of nowhere.
cheap rent in Canada. You're just thinking of like Vancouver.
Yeah, the big cities,
That's
right?
not where
Like
you want to
Vancouver,
be.
I mean, just-
Toronto.
Just go out in the middle of nowhere. There'd be
Yeah.
unbelievably cheap rent in Canada, just on a lakeside somewhere where
I
it's
think we could
frozen
do this. We should
tundra.
move it all to the tundra. Move it all to the frozen tundras.
Can you imagine the conspiracy theories that would go on if you just got an esports going on in the middle of nowhere?
Let's go to like Calgary or something.
Yeah.
None of it gets broadcast live because there's no good internet connections. So we just have to record the games and then broadcast them out later. No, seriously, guys, this is how it went. I know it seems scripted. What, for some reason, the chat's popping off that John Cutie would be out as well. Where are you guys getting this from? Is
John
that
Cutie,
also
I think,
true?
is waiting for a visa as well. He's in Morocco waiting for a visa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
God,
there's
that-
just
Why are there so
visa
many
problems.
visa? Does anyone know why there are so many visa problems happening right now?
I don't
Why
know.
were these visas not able to be secured during the off season for the year
But
upcoming?
it's only the teams that went to Madrid, right? Is it something to do with that? I don't really know.
Yeah.
I guess they were too busy in Madrid, so they couldn't sign certain things that need to be signed or something.
That's
I don't know.
I have
Election
no
year.
idea. I have no
Election,
idea.
yeah. I mean, it might be. I know that the H1-B visas isn't even a joke, by the way. The H1-B visas, this is like the time of the year where they get renewed. So maybe the United States immigration is just backlogged up at the moment, and so all of the visas are getting delayed. Yeah, I don't know.
The chat is also saying that the John Cutie thing might have been an April Fool's. So I'm just not going to engage with that, and hopefully it all just gets resolved. If Loud had no time to be able to scrim, but still turned up for their first games, they would be at an enormous disadvantage, though, right? Because they're one of the teams that I look at, and I think you need to be readdressing your idea for these compositions and how they play.
Yeah.
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 That would be a problem,
much
I
so.
think. For them in particular, more so than any other team, I think. It would be like, here's a comp that maybe works well as a surprise, that doesn't work so well when we know that you're playing it, and now we've got loads of time to prep and you can't change it. Like, that doesn't sound like a great... I think that they would struggle quite a lot.
I've been reliably informed by the rest of the chat that it's not an April Fool's joke, and I'm going to stop reading chat. So let's move on to the next one, because the next one is a bit of a mind-blowing thing too. Obviously, this was rumored about ages ago and reported on, and I was going to go to the Cloud9 topic, but I'm down to go for the crew
No,
one
let's
as well.
do Cloud9.
whatever.
I'm pressing the buttons too fast, so I'm hitting the wrong
just
button.
pressing all of those buttons. So Cloud9 had these roster changes reported on a while back that they were going to be removing Whippy and Jake, adding Moose and Rooney. They've even talked about it, I think, on like one of Cloud9's own pieces of content where they were like, yeah, we're making roster moves. Do you think that these were necessary, and do you think that these were the right changes? Those are the two questions that I've got, Sliggy.
See, the big game where everyone... So I missed their second game against MIBR because of the EU overlap, and this is where everyone was just like, they looked horrendous. So maybe I need to go back and watch this game, because I thought the first game that I watched, I was like, actually, they don't look too bad. And then this best of 3 happened, and everyone was like, holy shit, they look...
It did look
like,
bad.
Yeah, so maybe I
This
need
is
to
the
go
one
back
where
and watch that.
They barely got pulled over the line by Oxy, getting like multiple 4Ks, right?
No, that was the first time
That
they
was
played
first
against
one.
Oh,
MIBR.
yeah, the second time.
The second time where they got 2-0'd by MIBR.
Yeah.
The first one was in OT. The Oxy didn't really turn up and have as big a performance as he had done before. They all looked really sloppy and out of sync with each other. It was all the worst of playing a loose system without any of the huge moments you get from being able to play loose and opportunistic like that. So I think it just showcased them when they're not on a heater, and everybody was losing faith. And apparently they did internally too.
Yeah, I think this might be the right move. I think selfishly, Vanity's probably to go back on smokes. I think that was the big thing that he wanted. I was talking about him in the chat, and he was just like, "Man, I can't play judge on any of these agents." He's like, "None of these agents work with the judge, man. I can't play the judge." So I think that selfishly, like the comps will work better. He can just do that thing where he just gets shotguns all the time, and he can just enable the rest of his team. I guess it's the right move. There must have been some kind of turmoil as well, because it seems pretty drastic. And I guess in practices it was just flopping as well.
They're such a vibes-based team, Cloud9, with the way that they get built, and it feels like that all the time. And I think last year they got bailed out by Zelsis, the merchant himself. He was dishing out good times, good whimsy all around. And this one is confusing though, because Rooney came in and they were pretty. It seemed like there were obvious reasons as to why they didn't like Rooney in their team initially, but now they brought him back in again and Jake out after. I mean, I think as well, it was also pretty clear how much Zelsis was doing for this team in terms of just, keeping that morale up for a young player like Jake. You could constantly see it last year in the cams. He was gassing them up either after bad maps or whatever, in between the maps, always being that supportive, like basically rock that the team kind of needed. And yeah, I think they've just been crippling and grappling with just the. Is crippling a word?
No, but I was down to roll with it until you stopped and asked.
It just, I don't know. It felt. I mean, it feels like it should be a word. That's the current dilemma that they're kind of trying to get over is the vibes. The vibe shifts and they're off for these teams. I'm a very vibe-based person these days when it comes to these teams and rosters because of chemistry. Because I used to be all by the books and the numbers, and I'd look at the roster and I'm like, okay, on paper this is an upgrade. This looks great. And then you hear internally that somebody just fucking, I don't know, they stole something out of the fridge at the team house and now they're pissed and they've lost scrims. Like, there's too much extra data that you can't account for that makes me think that if I see a roster move on paper, it doesn't really make sense because of prior information I've got. Well, there must be other reasons as to why they're doing this, and there must be the only thing that I can't see is the vibes internally for a team. And so I think that's it. And it's almost necessary, I think, when you're playing this really heavy chemistry, we're gonna really just improvise rounds out of nowhere. That classic thing that Cloud9 of last year is probably trying to get back, where they were so good on the eco rounds and half by rounds because it just felt like they moved around the map, they would take risks, and they would just find an opening, and then they would pop out the woodwork one after the other, and they just start plucking away at players and never giving any easy fights. That kind of play style it's been missing because you just need that fire, that spark, that improvisation, and that really does come from team chemistry.
You also need smart players that are willing to make the call in the middle of the moment, like Leaf does and like Zelsis does, who are both gone for this team. And I don't think that adding Rooney back, like Rooney was the IGL on paper, but I don't think he was as vocal as those two people who were not the IGL on paper. And Leaf comes so much, especially when he's involved in what's happening at the start of rounds or whatever. And then Zelsis comes a shit ton. He's so vocal for them in terms of like mid-round decision making. So yes, Vanity didn't work with either of those people, and it's a different system, but to get these players back, I don't think it's going to even take you anywhere close to that. On top of which, dude, Rooney was already a player that they were thinking about benching reportedly at the end of playoffs last year. They decided not to bench him, then they've cut him, and then they've brought him back. Oh, I'm sure this guy's got tons of confidence. I'm sure he's going in there really amped up to play. And if he performs poorly in a couple of games, I'm sure he'll still have all the confidence in the world. Like he's got his. He can see the guillotine if he looks upwards.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with the EMEA, like, they're hiring the cleaners, the shit's getting. Apparently, those cleaners have just chucked it into the America's house because it feels like there's just like between visa issues and, like you say, like getting rid of Rooney, bringing him back in again. We got shit everywhere now in America's. It feels
there's a little bit of poo.
Yeah. It feels like we're getting there with these teams. If Loud can't scrim, if John QT can't play, Cloud9. I think that honestly, the bottom like half of America's looks like a mess. Like it stinks in this house right now of America's, in my opinion, the bottom half. And am I bringing this up because on a previous episode of Plat Chat that I was on, I was trying to argue for EMEA and I was getting Like just everyone just chipping out. You're just going away like that.
You kind of got wrecked at Masters.
Yeah, they did. True. But now is the time. Split 1, America's is now in the shit.
Yeah. It does. I mean, it definitely seems like there's the largest amount of fecal matter floating around in America's. No. But I mean,
with the scrim issues, like with Loud and Sentinels.
If you had a graph, let me plot it the other way around because I'm on camera. If you had a graph and down here, this one is time and this one is poo, this would be the peak. There's a small amount of poo at the beginning with peak
compared to last year?
It goes down. No, this year.
No,
this year.
Yeah, I mean,
draw the graph. Draw the poo graph.
So we got poo. No. That's
you
poo
want time on the
left.
bottom.
It's poo.
You want poo.
It's poo on the left.
Poo on the left, Kurt.
Quick.
Draw in brown, Kurt. Draw in brown.
Dance first. Go. Poo on the left. Time on the bottom. Dance.
There we go. Time.
Poo and time.
Time in Carmine Core Blue. Perfect.
Nice. Excellent.
So I would say kickoff in America's very little poo.
Low. Yeah.
Low amounts of poo. And I think now we're getting to a spot where the poo is spiking a little.
Oh.
And if you wanted to extrapolate, then poo will reach infinite amounts at some point. But I don't think we should extrapolate.
No.
I think it'll go back down to very low levels of poo after a while. But I'm not sure Cloud9 are going to contribute to the cleanup.
I've done a lot of drawing on my stream, but not that one. I will say I'm kind of excited I'm glad that Moose has got his chance though. Like Moose has been someone in tier 2 that's been like consistently looking great, looks reliable. So I kind of in amongst all the poo, I think that he's like the shining glimmer of hope. Where I'm just like, well, at least he gets his chance on this one because I do rate him.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go on to another team that I think is just a little lost right now too. Let's talk Crew. They actually had a pretty decent opening to the year. They played some teams competitively. They had good games. Guess what? They did the same Crew thing again, where they just play close losses against a bunch of other teams. They've still only ever won matches that were in LCQ for the last year and a half, but they've decided to make some changes. They've added heat to the roster with MTA out for an injury, and they've also decided to put the IGL role back on Klaus instead of Melzer. Melzer was IGLing during their only wins of the last year and a half, and they've given it back to Klaus. Now, to me, this screams shit on the walls, but I'd love to hear from the rest of you.
I think so. It really does. And my big thing is like, what are the comps? What are the roles at the moment? Because I don't think Heat's ever played anything other than duelist, right?
Yeah,
ever.
I can't remember. He might have, but
Kesnit was playing quite a bit of chamber during kickoff.
Yeah, bro's never played anything.
He's played 4 agents all time.
Yeah, and not just he played 4 agents all time. He was one of the causing factors behind the scenes, reportedly, that caused his previous team to collapse into a neutron star. And they just... this is why you got chosen with his knife beating 100 Thieves or whatever happened.
That is true.
It's because there was some massive problem with how he and the rest of the team saw the game. So getting 2 hot-headed duelist players onto the same roster whilst giving your IGL reigns back to the guy who can't win...
You're
inspiring.
such a jerk. It's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again. Oh God.
It might happen again. I mean, dude, they might have just felt inspired by Paper X. I'm not gonna lie. Who knows? The triple duelist did something to them. They're watching on the sidelines. They were seeing it, even though they moved away from it. But you could run some double duelist comps. You might be able to squeak by with some wins here or there.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord knows Kesnit's got the talent, and Lord knows Heat has it too.
I actually think you can make this work, though. What you do is you put Shy back on an initiator role.
Yeah, I think that's what will happen.
Yeah, and because previously Shy was for a while, for the whole of last year, he's basically been playing Sentinel, but he used to play Initiator before that. So if you put Kesnit on Chamber, or maybe you have one of Heat or Kesnit play Killjoy or stuff on some of the maps too, then maybe you can make a functioning system out of this. it doesn't seem like a great vision to me, but it does, I suppose, increase the skill on the roster quite significantly.
Firepower. Yeah, firepower goes up. For sure.
Is this, like, as the thing says there, it's temporarily, right? What did NTA break his hand? Is that what it was?
I don't know.
I read something about wrist, but I could be wrong.
Oh, was it
that.
like?
I could definitely be wrong with that.
Because then it gets even more weird. Because then if they do, like, you know, we're talking about, they'll pivot to chamber and double duelist. But then if MTA, like, if he has his wrist or hand or whatever and comes back, what are they then gonna undo? That's why it makes, like, even it's kind of weirder to me that we're bringing in this player, because we might have to just change everything, and then MTA might come back, and then what do we change it? Or I don't know. Who the fuck knows what's going on with this team? Like you said, they're in the shit.
The success that they had was playing really strict 1-3-1 defaults, which was when Melza picked up the IGLing. So I will be interested to see what style they play with too. Listen, one guy saying that Heat might be playing Initiator, playing Sky and Scrims. So do we? Am I immediately getting one guide about this? Very
tracker?
possibly.
Give me his tracker. What's he been playing in ranked? That's what matters. Where is it? Valorant, Heat. Will it even show up? Will he even show up on tracker? I don't even know.
No, you have to know what his full thing is.
Heat Valorant tracker.
Oh, well, Bren does his 404. Yeah. Are you willing to continue investigating this while we move on to another topic?
I'm
Mr.
investigating.
Brennan?
I'm investigating.
Okay. Well then, let's move on to talking about another team in Americas, FURIA, who have decided to cut somebody and replace them with Nozwa, who's floating around since Leviathan decided to grab Com. So Nozwa was like a spare piece who looked amazing as a pickup for one of these teams. Can play on Brazilian-speaking rosters, can play on Brazilian-speaking, Portuguese-speaking rosters or Spanish-speaking rosters. And he's ended up with FURIA, but they cut Liazzi, who actually played pretty decently in kickoff overall compared to what I was expecting. Better than Havoc, though. What's your thoughts here on where they've gone with this change? FURIA probably looked like one of the weakest teams in the league, actually, during kickoff.
I think they're cooking. I think they're cooking with this. I think this is a good pickup. I think I'm not saying this is going to fix everything, but in terms of like a potential roster on paper, this is pretty strong. So yeah, I'm down for this. I think this is the right move. I think that Noz is just such a good player that I think that someone needed to pick him up, and I think this is a team that, like you said, wasn't looking too hot, and I can only see this being an upgrade. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think this is a good move as well. I think FURIA, like they were the team of just fucking MW go fucking avatar mode, right? Going carriers to a win, hopefully. And I feel like they just needed probably more players like Nozwa, who's like, he's just like a good solid player, like like most of the time, right? I don't know what the highlight was, but
phenomenal highlight to pick up.
Yeah, but I think he'll just be a solid player for them and help them. Will it be enough to actually make this team really competitive? That I have more doubts about, but I think it will be an upgrade at least. I think you're right though. They were, I think, maybe the worst team during kickoff, or certainly down there.
Yeah, during this period of time where a lot of these highlights are taken from, when Nozwa used to play for FURIA, Nozwa was also IGLing for the team too. So I wonder if that's a possibility, or at least if he's going to be very vocal on the squad, because I think Conan could do with the help. I think that this is a spot where Nozwa could have massive impact on a team by being a leader as well as a good player. And I think even if he can be an experienced player to try to help out with the rest of the squad, Havoc too, because it definitely seems like there's some massive nerve issues with that guy. And if you get him playing at his best, it is so different to the lows that we've seen from him.
Yeah, because he can be a crazy player. We've seen it, but was it not just like a role thing for him that maybe he didn't look too comfy on the role? I felt like he's playing Initiator, right? But he used to be duelist. Yeah,
he did look a little bit lost playing the KO.
He looked crazy at times. I mean, he was just sending it.
He was sending it. He was walking into op sightlines constantly, never like jiggle peeking or jump spotting, throwing his utility in all sorts of terrible spots. But I think some of that was nerves too. I think so. One of the things I learned about this squad from a few of the Brazilian fans in my chat, which again, take that with a grain of salt, I suppose, because it's like coming from stream data, was that I believe Havoc's original gap away from professional play was due to performance issues as well. It was like nerves on stage and not being able to handle the stress of playing as a top player. So I think it just looks like that kind of thing reared its head again, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I found something.
It's hard to fix as well. Okay, here we go.
Investigative journalism. The heat tracker has been sourced. Thank you to the chatter who found it as well. We know this is legit because they've queued with Havoc as one of their recent teammates. This is legitimate. And from this, we've determined a lot of initiator, a lot of duel is still being played.
Gets bored of initiator after time.
Yeah, gets bored in ranked, decides to lock duelist when he starts losing all the initiator games, losing. He's like, I'll take matters into my own hands.
Sure, no, not all the initiator games are losing, are they?
I mean, a lot of them. I mean,
he's purely playing duelist before that, though, right?
I mean, that KO win rate is not looking good. It's not looking good, man. It's not looking
every
good.
KO game is
It's not looking good.
There's a good KO game.
Dude, okay, yeah.
Two OT wins. This is what we've come to. Plat has become this.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe he will be playing Initiator then. That would be really weird. Because like you said, he's only ever played 4 agents before, all duelist in the past. But yeah, I guess that just puts a lot of pressure on his shoulders to perform, really. Yeah. But that's not FURIA. We were talking about crew there, by the way. If you just tuned in for this segment, Bren was bringing that up to look at Heat playing for crew. Okay, let's get into our bold predictions. Let's have a look at our groups. Let's get into the bold Preds and see who we think is going to be winning Stage 1 of Americas. Oh, boy.
I'll do that thing again where I make it while you guys yell.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Well, can you throw up the groups for us then, please, Kurt, so we can have a look?
Yeah.
We've got our Alpha bracket, our Omega bracket, and the... Okay, what are we looking at in terms of things being stacked here? I mean, we've got Sentinels and RG both in the Alpha bracket, but the Omega with Lev, Loud, EG, 100
the Omega
Thieves
group
might
is
be a bit more stacked.
It's rife for some fucking the Omega group.
Yeah.
That is
That's gonna
rife
be
for some
competitive.
funny business with Loud having scrim issues, with honestly, the super team not really working to fruition. Like, I think the trouble with super teams when you form them is that the expectations of everybody is that you're going to be winning a lot. And when you don't win and problems start arising, that's when the egos begin to clash, which is why I think you're already seeing cracks and signs of that with Lev, with them chopping and changing and making moves with their roster, just trying to solidify something. There's a world where EG end up being a top team in our group.
Damn.
There's a world where EG are the top team in our group. I'm telling you now.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you now, there's a world where EG are the top team in our group.
I mean, that's not as silly as it sounds, though, because if Loud can't play or they don't scrim, then it's what? Them and Lev and 100
It's them, Lev, and 100 Thieves. And maybe MIBR. I mean, we're putting too much disrespect on MIBR's name.
No, I'll tell you what, I disagree with this take for one big reason, Bren. And the big reason is EG are going to be playing against a bunch of teams in the other group that I don't think you can anti very well at all. I mean, who the fuck knows what crew are going to be doing on any given basis? NRG are impossible to anti because NRG in any given round are just going based off the vibrations based on their 5 brains connecting to each other in some kind of hive mind. They are purely going audibles in the mid round, NRG. So you're never anti-ing those guys. And I don't think you're doing it with Cloud9 with the new Cloud9 either. So... EG are going to be coming into games like, all right, game plan is play our own game. We've never done it before, but this is the game plan.
They have done this before. They have shown signs that they are still going for the cooked up big ideas at the beginning of rounds. Like they're getting back into the swing of things where they're trying to really play to that strength again, which is
They are still a good team, sorry. Yeah, I'm being flippant, obviously, here, but I think when EG have been at the top level, able to take down really good teams, it's been based off good prep of their opponents, too.
I had a question about who do you think in the other group will be the third playoff team? Because I think we can probably agree that Sentinels and NRG will be playoff teams. But then who do you think out of who is it? It's Cloud9, G2, and Crew. Who do you think finishes?
Should be G2. You would imagine. I guess is the simple take. But
I mean, they've made a change as well.
Have they though? Is that like official or something? I was just trying to look for that actually.
Well, yeah, rumored.
Has it even been reported though?
I don't know.
Has there been like an official report about it? Because I know the rumor is minus net plus icy, but I don't know how confirmed or whatever that actually is.
I don't either. But
let me research it while we go on to some of the later stuff and maybe
more
we
research,
can
huh?
discuss it a bit more. Yeah,
research. Huh?
More
I
live
don't see a
research.
report, but that is a rumor. It's I thought it was confirmed by the players though, so I don't know.
Check the tracker.
Yeah, who's duoing together?
Oh no, there is a report, or at least it's Antonio Gomez is throwing it out on Twitter, I believe. Sorry, Alejandro Gomez. Sorry, messing up their name there. Yeah, but there is. Sorry, yeah, here it is. It's a Sheep Esports article. Let me throw it in the Discord, and we'll visit that in a moment, a little bit later. But let's start with the bold Preds to begin with, then, shall we? Let's get into it. Who's going to win the Alpha and Omega brackets? Both of the teams from Madrid getting heavily nerfed coming in here.
You're in for the same as
We got
me
a
again.
hive mind.
TMV and Sliggy. Copy and homework. For audio listeners, TMV and Sliggy have gone for NRG winning Group Alpha and 100 Thieves winning the Omega.
I love Brent trying to little set us up to the EG thing. Like, let me just throw this in here so they don't mention it.
Bren has gone for NRG and EG, and I've gone for Sentinels and Leviathan. Where do we want to begin? I think let's begin with Bren. Let's begin with Bren. So you've already given your EG take, but give me your NRG take to set us up for talking NRG.
They're the same boat as what Na'Vi were kind of like, where I thought that they're overall, they know how to play the game individually. They know how to call as well. Actually, Ethan's calling really just good macro plays, and the players are good enough individually that they will create openings. They just need the prep time. They just need prep time. They need structure. And now they finally got it. You 100% could see that in the way that they were playing, because the ideas were very, very just half-baked. They're purely, like you said, operating off audibles, off the mid-round adaptations. Sentinels are coming off the back of presumably not much scrim time. They're going to want to break heading into Split 1. I mean, they've earned themselves 6 bloody points towards the end of the year. I think that as much as they might not want the foot off the gas, I think it just subconsciously, after one hell of a run like that, where they had potentially the hardest run possible, almost the hardest path possible to win Madrid, you do kind of just take a little bit of time off here as well. And there hasn't been really enough time to take time off. I mean, especially with John QT apparently still in Morocco, which may or may not be an April Fool's joke. We don't know.
I don't think it is.
It looks like we're set up for a bit of not a slam dunk, but I think we're set up really well here for NRG to take that #1 spot.
Yeah, I think you said our NRG stuff for sure. That's pretty much what I back. I reckon me and TMV are thinking the exact same thing for 100 Thieves. So I'm going to let him go, and then I'll add mine on top if it's different.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I went for 100 Thieves. One, louder in the shit to start off with, right? That's part of it. Two, I've got a slight sneaky feeling that Lev could absolutely implode, and they might not. I think that Lev could be very good, but I also think there's a chance that they mega implode. And then 100 Thieves. Look, I always hate like giving teams too much praise when they lose games. I hate when like people are like, oh, they lost, but it was so close. I hate that. I really do. I think like sometimes you can see a good performance, but other times it's like, well, just win, right? When teams when teams lose to good teams, and they're like, yeah, but they lost to a good team, so it's fine. Well, if you want to be a good fucking team, win against the good team. But I do think that for 100 Thieves, we know that obviously they couldn't have had a lot of time with Boostio, right? And I think that we saw, like you can kind of see in the result right there against Sentinels, right? Their bind was really good, but then some of their other maps, clearly they had some problems, and it was like we're struggling a bit. It felt like we weren't in sync, but we knew that they didn't have a ton of time with Boostio. So that to me makes a lot of sense, right? Like, oh, this team just hasn't had enough time. Now they've had the time, and look, this is my first time being on 100 Thieves bandwagon. Right, I've never ever believed in this kind of team before, so I feel like I'm a kid, like going on the first roller coaster, where they're gonna come off the roller coaster and it's either gonna be that was the best time in my life, or it's gonna be just sick everywhere. Right? You're just being sick everywhere. That's what this is gonna be. And I know that the 100 Thieves fans are thinking, don't do it. Don't believe in this team, because they've always believed in this team, and it always fucking goes to shit. So I'm excited right now. I'm about to go on the first roller coaster of my life with 100 Thieves, and I'm just excited to see whether I'm gonna be sick or enjoy it.
I bet you've never been on a roller coaster that only goes downwards. Dude, I cannot believe the 100 Thieves belief. But Sliggy, was there anything extra to add on top?
Yeah, they won the lottery. They're playing against Sentinels first, just coming back from a big LAN, and the fact that probably Curry's going to be playing, so they lost their main IGL, which is big, and they got a sub in, and Curry's like legit, but it's a big advantage. And then Lev then have to beat Sentinels, and it's and that's going to be a lot harder when that's like further down the line. So they play against the best possible team they could early on. And then they don't have to do too many surprises. Like if they can somehow beat NRG, or they just have to do equal to what Lev does, and then you'd have to imagine that Sentinels beat Lev. So just like a maths thing that they won the lottery of just playing Sentinels fast is where I'm at with it. But I would say like them and Lev are like 50-50 in my books, especially when they played. Like it was a close game. I think Lev won both pistols on Icebox or something. That's like the only difference. So that's kind of where I'm at. They won the lottery. It's theirs to lose.
Do you think that you're discounting Loud's ability to? I would put Loud above 100 Thieves, even if they can't scrim, even if they're playing from Dublin.
Playing from Dublin. Playing from Dublin.
They're first of all, even without the visa stuff, so we'll ignore the visa stuff. They've got 2 maps where everyone in America should beat them. Like they should get beaten on Lotus, they should get beaten on Ascent, and they have no time to fix that. Ascent's an easier fix than Lotus, I guess, but with that included, like Loud should have a hard time here. They would have had a hard time if they managed to have like a whole week off, no visa issues, and they got an even tougher time now. Yeah,
I feel like this 100 Thieves team has such a fundamental problem in their lack of, mate. When I watch them, they just they look far away from being a top team, in my opinion.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. When I watch them play, they're like the lack of having an entry player, and the fact that they've had to put Cryo over to Smokes and had to rely again on Asuna being the main entry player for them, I think is a long way away from being successful at the top tier of the league. But I guess we'll see.
It's so funny because a lot of people, when 100 Thieves like got eliminated and they were in the group of death, I feel like a lot of people came away and were like, oh, that was not too bad. And then there was kind of a positive vibe, I feel like, about 100 Thieves. And at the time, I was like, I'm not that high on 100 Thieves, and I don't know what's happened. I honestly can't tell you really what happened to me, but the other day I just woke up and I was looking at the group and I was like, 100 Thieves are going to win that group. And I just, all of a sudden, I was like, I'm 100 Thieves in now. I'm just in on this team. So basically, I'm just a vibes merchant at this point.
Okay.
I feel less confident now you're here. I'm not gonna lie.
It's gonna be MIBR.
What?
In the winners of the group. It's just it's the team that nobody expects. It's gonna be MIBR.
So why did you pick EG?
Well, because the EG is also a team that nobody expects. I've already said my piece about why EG is going to be at the top of this group.
But then you just threw in MIBR just to fuck with us.
Yeah, because we're all going to be wrong.
Yeah, but FURIA are winning it, is what we're saying.
No. I mean, I don't think. Listen, no.
Okay, let's go on to some predictions, shall we? Let's go for America's Week 1 predictions. We've got the first game is a retooled Cloud9 playing against Leviathan. Woo, baby! Don't know whether that's considered a doozy or not, but that's what we've got. The blue and white teams.
Oh.
Whoa! What just happened?
What do you mean? What just happened? We all predicted Leviathan.
My stream froze, and suddenly there was a picture being taken of me. I wasn't ready. I didn't even see the teams come up.
Well, I mean, is there much to be said about this?
I feel like this one might get in the mud again. I don't want to go down to the oiled up men analogy again, but I feel like this is a.
I will be so disappointed in Leviathan.
Mud.
I will be so disappointed in Leviathan if there's mud everywhere. I will be so disappointed. I feel like this team. Messy. One of my big problems with them was that they didn't look like they'd really spent enough time to refine the game plans enough. Like some of the ideas looked really good. Some of them looked like they needed more time to cook. Like they had one good idea paired with another good idea, but they didn't really work in tandem together. Their icebox composition, for example, and the way that they were playing that really stood out to me in that regard. They also... They just have such a good team. I don't see them imploding. I know that there was a little bit of internal problems with, like, Aspas didn't want to let go of Nozwa, but King, Com, they're not like aggressive people. They've never blown up teams before. Where's the bad vibes going to come from?
Where's the bad vibes going to come from? A couple places. Aspas's mom is calling out Tex to start off with. That already
I did see that.
That already happened. So that's one thing. Two, they've got a really high expectations, right? Like you're saying, everyone look at this team on paper and goes, "Oh, this team should be really good." So if they're not, I don't know. I feel like there's all the, and then they don't like. I don't know the coaching staff, right? Like they haven't been at the top of the game as far as I know thus far, right? So you might have, a coaching staff who maybe hasn't dealt with like really big personalities necessarily either like this before, who like Aspas is like only one in his career, right? So he's not going to be happy with losing all of a sudden. So I just feel like the ingredients are there that if we start losing, I don't know how well they'll react to that. I mean, Aspas's mom was already calling one of the players out. So clearly not that well.
It was like a traffic cone or something, wasn't it? Like, I can't remember exactly what the insult was, but it was something very funny. What was this? I can't see it. Can you make it a little larger, please, Kurt? Aspas mum, damn, what the hell is that team? Probably talking about Sentinels. Fan, I'm rooting for Aspas. Aspas's mum replies, girl, it's been difficult, though. This Tex is not much of a thing.
What?
That's wild, isn't it?
Damn.
I didn't realize parents could get this deeply involved. My dad would have loved all of this when I was back in the team. Just flaming everyone.
Do you remember when one of the pros' mums retweeted a porn meme?
It was Boostio's
mum.
Yeah,
it was like
I don't think she knew what the meme was.
The 5 guys standing behind the couch, and the woman's on the couch, and it was someone had photoshopped all of the talents' faces, all of the casters and analysts' faces onto the men, and then it was like EG was lying on the couch.
Yeah,
and she retweeted it.
Yeah. She's a very lovely lady. I don't think she got it. No, I don't think she meant it. Having spoke to her, because do you remember when the whole the 100 Thieves family members just came up in turn to talk to us, Josh?
Yes.
Right when we were casting their game.
At the end of kickoff.
Yeah, at the end of kickoff. Yeah, or like the middle portion of kickoff. Yeah, we were just shaking hands. They're very lovely people. That's based off that vibe check. I don't think they intended for that meme.
It's
to
very
mean what it
very
meant.
funny though. Very funny. I just still have faith in Leviathan. I think they can get it sorted. Yeah, Tex didn't play that well during the during kickoff, but I think if anything, he's going to be slightly better than that on average. And I don't think he has to be nuts for this team to work. I think you just need to see bigger performances coming out from King on a regular basis. Like I think in the first game he had a really slow beginning, King, and then warmed up later on. I can't remember which game that was though. Must have been the one against 100 Thieves.
Yeah. For me, it was just map pool. Their map pool they looked really strong on some maps and really weak on others. I think give them a little bit of time, which they've had now, I'm pretty confident in them. The only way they lose this is if C9 just play with just like pure confidence and they know that they shouldn't be winning it and they just do some outrageous stuff. I don't really see it happening, but we've seen crazier things.
Let's move on to our next game, which Kurt has labeled the match of the week, but it might be the match that doesn't happen.
We're not labeling this a match of the week. We gotta change that. So not
all right, we'll retool the match of the week, but it is a really good match if it does occur. It's NRG playing against Loud, so it's a lot of our picks for the winner of the Alpha group playing against a top team. And we've all gone with NRG straight out of it. I feel like this one just makes sense though. Like even if you had these teams on a similar level, you can't punt for Loud when they Even if they got stuck, like they have to retool so much coming out of Madrid.
That's how they get you. Telling you. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
You think they're out, you doubt loud, and suddenly it's fucking my face photoshopped over the dog from GTA being walked on a leash. That's what happens, man. You doubt loud once, and you just get walked like a dog. It's rough. No, you are right though. It should be a Plat guarantee by all metrics and measurements that we've ran.
Will be if they forfeit loss.
Yeah, the forfeit loss goes crazy.
If NRG lost this, I would be so worried for them. Just even if they manage to get over like back to Americas and they can actually play, like if they lost to this when their Lotus and their Ascent looks so bad, like they would have to mess up the map veto again. It would have to be like atrocious.
If we get into the map veto and they still spend 30 minutes trying to pick what map they want to go to for map 3, we've got some problems.
Dude, that was so funny last time, man. I love how Ethan literally just backed out as well, and he's like, "Yeah, you pick, man. Like you pick. I'm having none of this."
It was so good that Zelsis discussed it on stream as well, because like you can see it in the video, but they're not mic'd up. All of the players, and then Celsius is just talking about it on stream about like all of the things that they basically just the indecision between them. A weird one. I've never seen a team play as puggy as NRG at the top level in Valorant. I don't think I've ever seen a team play like this, where they just any player can take their own timings.
They'll have
I'm sure they will, yeah. I don't want them to lose that identity, though, necessarily, because I think they can win a lot of rounds based off that.
Oh, yeah, it's a super good tool to have. I think that a lot of teams lose that when they try and go so structured, but yeah, it's nice.
I think you're forgetting all of 2021, to be honest. Like the early parts of the game. Yeah. Especially like some of the like Brazilian teams or whatever, you know, the old Brazilian teams.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, in this era of the game, you don't have people that play like that, where like any player is just trying to find their own timings, and they're all so good at it as well. But then they just don't, they just got clapped on some of the other maps too, because they don't have the, I assume, time with the rest of the team. Let's go into our next game. It's G2 versus Evil Geniuses, and this is what
I pressed the wrong button again.
It's Sentinels. It's Sentinels versus 100 Thieves. It's Sentinels versus 100 Thieves.
Yeah, fuck those teams.
Sorry, I was just thinking about Sentinels again.
That's okay. We prematurely pressed the button. It's the 100 Thieves believers, for audio listeners of Sliggy and TMV, have gone with 100 Thieves, as you would expect, and myself and Brent have gone with Sen. I feel like we've already heard the justifications for this.
Yeah, we've been here. We've been here before.
If John Cutie can't play and Curry's playing, Bren, do you still think Sen win?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Curry doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care, man. Like, Curry, when he was playing for, what was it, Cloud9, they almost beat Fnatic, or they did beat them. I can't remember. I don't even know the result of it. But, like, there's caution to the wind now. Curry's a multi-millionaire from traveling across the globe, getting rank 1 in every rank server. I don't think he cares about the pro play anymore. If he ends up playing, they're just going to be fully on playing all vibes. It's going to be good, top notch. Everybody's just swinging, just taking fights. I think the argument as well that Sentinels have revealed a little bit too much for counter-stratting, I thought that argument would have held up during kickoff, and it didn't. Sentinels played the most maps out of any team, and it didn't hold up, because I don't think that's where the strengths of Sentinels as a team comes from. It comes from their decision making and their lack of hesitancy to make the right calls in mid-rounding. I think is one of the major keys as to why they win. So I think they'll still be heavy favorites going into this match, even if John QT can't play. Maybe not heavy favorites if John QT can't play. If John QT can play, then I think heavy favorites. But if not, if Curry's in, I think that I would still give Sen the edge.
They still have very vocal players on the team too.
Yeah,
I'm not worried in the sense of like they're not having an IGL, but I think it'll be a fun game. If 100 Thieves don't win this one, the entire 100 Thieves cope just flies out the window.
Oh, it's done. It's so done.
Yeah, we're gonna. Really we need 100 Thieves to win this game. Me and Sliggy for that pick.
Which is absolutely mad. Like, in order for your theory to be correct, they must beat the Madrid champions instantly after Sentinels won Madrid. Otherwise, it's game over.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
It's excellent, an excellent bet to make. Let's go for the game that we skipped over with our.
I'm focusing up right now. I'm focusing.
Focus up.
Thank you.
Kurt.
All right,
Don't
here
even
we go.
remember who I picked in this one.
Final one. G2 versus EG. And Bren's gone for
yeah,
EG. Of course he has. We've already seen this cope before from you.
Yeah, it's not really cope though. I mean, I think this team they have good coaches. They have players that are hungry, and G2 currently are in a bit of a they're just kind of floundering at the moment. I think in terms of just wondering what to do. That's why the rumors are circulating about them maybe chopping and changing net as well. I think they can feel it like they need to make a change. They're not really at the top of the world anymore, even though they were looking like it not too long ago. It's a team that's. I was much higher up on G2, I think, coming into the overall season, but after watching them play kickoff, my stocks have gone down for them, and I think my stocks in EG long term, I think that's a sound investment. I would add them to a 401k. I've never invested in my life. I don't really know if that's something that is a sound investment for a long term purchase. Probably.
Company needs to provide that, so Plat Chat will have to provide that for you.
Okay, if we
You
can
can
get
have
that done,
you can
for
have a
You could put it
solo
into
funded
EG as an
401k.
organization.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Alright.
I've got one.
I'll go for that then.
Can
with
you
VG,
show it to
because I
us?
think this team.
Can I show you my 401k? I'm not funding it anymore because I don't live in the US, so it's just sat there doing nothing. It's just basically locked up some of my assets in a semi-liquid state. It was a terrible idea for me to fund it in the first place.
I actually want to swap though. I think put me on EG.
You want me to give you the 401k?
Oh yeah, that would be handy too if you could just send that over. But
Right.
I think I want to go EG in this. They already beat G2, so that's one thing. G2 are making a change. I'm with you, Bren. I think EG.
Yeah.
I think the middle of Americas is a bit confusing with some of these teams. This game will actually, I think, kind of clear stuff out if one team wins convincingly. But let's have faith in Potter.
Yeah. The game that they played was extremely close as well. I don't think it was a 2-0, but it wasn't like it wasn't an emphatic win. Can we bring up that article though, Kurt? Because the change that G2 are looking to make is a pretty sizable one. They've had this core of the team together for a long time. And I think that's one of the big reasons that people believed in them coming into the year. That's one of the reasons I did, is because they should hit the ground running. But they didn't really. And now they're looking to remove Net to sign Icy. What do you think about this move?
It's weird.
Yeah, it seems out of the blue for us, at least in terms of like from the outside. Because again, like we said, there's like the main core. They got it together. Like we could understand the text thing. This feels like an extra stretch. I don't even know anything about this guy as well in terms of Icy. So
Icy was playing for the EG support roster or something, wasn't he? The reserve roster, or am I just absolutely off the goop?
Maybe.
No,
That's what I mean.
I'm probably absolutely off the fucking goop. I think
They had a lot of players. I can't remember his name there. Though.
Yeah.
I thought Icy was playing with EG. I don't know. I think I might have just lost.
But I heard about this like 2 weeks ago, right? And then it just like fizzled out, or
it was on EG.
Has it happened or?
Yeah. Okay. He was on EG. Here's my read of the situation. If I read between the lines, right? They couldn't really get Leaf integrated properly with the team. Leaf is extremely vocal as a player, and they didn't really want, as far as I'm aware, another vocal player on the squad because the rest, like Jonah P and Net and Valin, are all really vocal. So it might have been a situation where they wanted to fix the balance of comms by looking for a replacement. They're also looking to try to move Leaf to Sentinel, says this report. Instead of having him play duelist, and Icy would come in and play the duelist role, which seems bizarre to me, but again would kind of, if you read between the lines there, that seems to indicate that they couldn't really work with how Leaf wanted to play duelist.
This guy's gonna be cracked, surely.
Leaf has been really good on other roles before though, like when he played Viper and Sky and stuff. But like
this guy's
Leaf
talent.
KJ is not it from last year.
He can. I mean, in my mind, he can probably play everything. But I still think that's a bold move. I still feel like Leaf puts up numbers pretty consistently.
Yeah. It seems bizarre.
I'm feeling good about my EG pick all of a sudden. That's just that makes even.
What's going on?
Brent, you're not gonna believe this. Prepare yourself. Leaf, you know Leaf.
Yeah.
He might not be playing Duelist.
Why?
But why?
We don't really know.
Good
But
question.
Icy would apparently be coming in to play Duelist in scrims, is what the report says.
Leaf does
by
like to
Alejandro
play
Gomez.
a lot of different stuff. I mean, I don't hate that
He's
as
the
much
safe
as you
of
might
North America.
think. Yeah, he plays a ton of different stuff.
But at the same time, he didn't actually have very much success playing Sentinel for them. He hated playing Killjoy for the previous iteration of C9. He played it on like a couple of maps, and then they changed their comps so that he didn't play it on those maps anymore. I think the Leafs' aggressive style of Duelist was... So G2, when I think about them, they're a slower-paced team that likes to find the right mid-round call. And Leaf is an aggressive, opportunistic player on Duelist who likes to quickly react based on what information he sees around the map. And I was wondering how they would solve that, and maybe they just haven't been able to.
Dude, when was this published? Because I remember hearing about this, and then I just heard nothing after.
That's a good question. When was it published? It is from the 21st of March. So, yeah, this was... Yeah, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, something like that. So it's probably fairly up to date.
Yeah.
You can't really make too many changes from that point onwards. Is it killing your belief in G2, Sliggy?
No, not massively. I mean, normally I trust with like teams that are making moves, right? Majority of the time it works out better than it does the opposite way around. So I guess we got to kind of believe in it. Yeah, it just felt a little bit odd. But I normally these things like they'll come out and then like a week later we hear. That's like the only reason I'm just like, how have I heard nothing else on this? I guess is like where I'm at.
Yeah, I didn't read this report yet. I'd like to swap my pick to EG. I'm afraid this has... I'm afraid it is just kind of eroding my belief in the team, because you gotta think the reason that I had belief in G2 to begin with is that they had a really good solid system and that they were going to be able to integrate Leaf properly. And it feels a bit like 100 Thieves of last year, where you don't realize how large a difference between two players can be. And it causes cascading effects down the road that are actually really difficult to solve. So I'm afraid I'm gonna swap on this one. I'm gonna flip flop.
I'm staying strong. I think it's fine.
Yeah. Okay then. Well, that's doing it for our America's predictions as well. And we've managed to cover a bunch of the different reports and rumors, etc. So that brings us to our final segment, the most important segment. He's not here, but it's Wyatt's Weekly Award.
To be fair, you need to have a very high IQ to understand Vision Striker's approach to the game. The tactics, the executes, the way they control the map. Very few can understand it, only dedicated Korean fans such as myself and top-tier minds of the game.
That's from Iceland or Berlin or something, isn't it?
2020.
What's the trophy though?
Gotta
Was
be
it just the
2021.
wine?
That's before we even started doing Wyatt's Weekly Award, I think.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
is.
like a green screen clip from one of our very earliest co-streams.
No. We definitely were doing Wyatt's Weekly Award around that time, because
Were we?
we've got old clips of him before he dyed his hair.
Yeah, that
From,
was
like,
a green
in the
screen.
house.
clip,
Oh,
though.
right. Yeah.
That is,
Oh,
yeah,
so
green
you're
screen
both
clip
right.
from the...
That's an amazing
oh my
throwback.
God,
Kurt.
what a throwback.
An amazing throwback.
What
Okay.
a throwback.
For Wyatt's Weekly
We have
Award
some
this week.
throwbacks of the in the green screen clips as well.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
you.
we've got some.
Like 5 of
Can
them.
you throw one
Do you
up?
want to run some?
Maybe later. It'll be a joke.
Maybe later. We're about to end the show.
I
What are you going to do with
a
him
different
later?
show.
Okay. So the Wyatt Weekly Award winner this week, I want to give it to a player who's been screwed a little bit, but had also had a fantastic performance recently too. So a little bit of sympathy, a little bit of glory. And that's Monyet. I feel like Monyet, his performance during Madrid was pretty excellent as things went on. He really grew into the role that PaperX required him to play. They started figuring stuff out as he started figuring stuff out. And just as he's got there to the top of the hill, His rock's been kicked
Chucked
back
off
down,
it.
and he's got to start. Yeah, he's been chucked off the top of the cliff. Oh, he's got to start pushing that rock back up the hill again. So, for his excellent performance in a Sisyphean task, this weekly award is going to Monyet. You must imagine Monyet happy to be benched, says Albert Camus.
Is that a Sisyphus reference? One must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Yeah,
One must imagine Monyet happy to be benched. I don't think he's happy to be benched, but he does deserve the award. I mean, you're right. He filled in shoes that were frankly unfillable, and he played really well the entire tournament, and he brought PaperX to heights that nobody really expected from them for kickoffs, not even their own team. So, he does deserve a spot on a roster. I can't believe they moved him to the reserves, to be honest. It's crazy.
Listen, I would also say didn't play amazingly for all of the tournament, but I think he definitely played really well towards the end of the tournament. Yeah. Especially the more he played Raze, the better it looked. The more he just straight up decided to try to fill Jingg's spot, as mad as that sounds, he actually did that better than when he was trying to play smokes for the team.
Once the confidence was like reinstalled, basically, he actually looked like a really good player. And he got way too much flack. Like people were giving it like a lot at the beginning. So
you know why? Because people do not understand anything about how PaperX finds success. There was literally a thread on Reddit after Madrid saying something like, "Can anyone explain PaperX's style analytically?" because people it just goes too fast. People don't understand tempo. That's the biggest thing that I've taken away from Madrid. People do not understand the concept of pace and tempo.
I thought you were just gonna say play the Bren rant about PaperX or the
PaperX are the nightmare of the armchair analyst. All right, so anyway, that's who the award's going to. Thank you for coming in and talking to us, TMV Sliggy, and Bren, you calmed down. Well done.
The meds really hit, I think, at some point. Probably, I think when Sliggy and TV came in. I just felt nice and calm and ready to get some work done and probably write some emails and have a chill day.
Wait, Sliggy, do you do ASMR? Can we record some of your voice and play it back to Bren as
maybe therapy? Maybe that's in my future when this all fails or fizzles out.
Final thing to note is leave a comment for what you think the match of the week should be this week. Of all the matches that we've gone through in all three of the regions that we've covered this week, leave us a comment. What do you think the match of the week should be? And don't make it one of the ones where somebody's fucking unable to turn off.
The audience wants the easy win.
Don't try to rig the bloody system, please. Make it a serious match of the week suggestion. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.